Hello, everybody, and welcome to my I guess my panelist, or co-host, or guest, Phil the Trill and Justin Tor, LPs, and welcome to people that are already in chat: Nicolas Camargo and Mercurius Olicus and Squat Bench Deadlift. Welcome all. Sorry,
Hello.
we're a bit late. We were caught up in talking about motorcycle and stuff. And I was thinking maybe maybe I'm gonna start putting content on my personal channel. That's what I was talking about the guy, which is not related to RPG and stuff like that. So maybe I'll post a link. Keep your eye peeled for that. Like more like random stuff, a little bit political stuff, societal stuff, philosophy, and motorcycle and music. I guess. Thing that interests me. So hello guys, how you doing? How you been?
Okay.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Excellent. Next topic.
Oh, I got. I was ready for the next one. I got them written down here.
Yeah. So
Ready?
tonight I want to talk about like how to be a better player in role-playing game, right? And what I mean by a better player, like because like we often see content, tips and tricks and how to be a better GM and stuff like that. But that's the thing, like that's what I was saying in the description box. The GM is just one guy around the table. The quality of the session cannot all like be on him, right? The quality of the session like need to be shared among everybody at the table. So as a player, you also have responsibility. And one thing that drives me fucking crazy is when we think about that, there's always like, oh, there's no such thing as a better player and stuff like that. And I just want to say, like, shut the fuck up. Like, like people make
Just
content
right
like
out the
that.
gate. Shut the fuck up.
Right at the foot of the gate. Shut the fuck up.
No, I won't.
You shut
Player's
your mouth.
always right. Blah, 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 blah.
But imagine if you were to go look at like a video of like how to be a better trombone player, just to use an example that's on my mind lately.
Yeah.
And then like the guy just said like, there's no wrong way to play the trombone as long as you're having fun and stuff like that. Like how fucking useless is that for advice? That'd be asinine. But that's the kind of shit that we see in role playing game. You want to see like how can I be a better better at shooting oops, right, or whatever in basketball, like. Then they're gonna say, well, think about that, and they're gonna give you actual advice. They're not gonna say, well, as long as you're having fun, right? And just like, so there's something I think as being a better player, and we're gonna discuss about that tonight. If you got something and you want to say in chat, we'll try to pay attention. But let me go around here at the table.
I got it up. I got the chat up.
Yeah, so do I. It's very easy. You just hit the chat button.
So what do you think? Am I off my rockers there, or is there a way to be a better player in role playing game?
As the resident contrarian, yes, absolutely. But to
the first part, he's off his rocker.
No, to everything, just breathing in general.
Good. I think that the
being a ginger, definitely.
that the idea of a player being important to the quality of the game is super important. I said this a couple of times, but I think of the GM as being the floor of the game, and then the players setting the ceiling of the game. So if your players are really good, you have an incredibly good session, as long as the GM is just like okay. If the GM is good enough, then the players are going to set how good the game is, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to view it.
But as far as there's definitely things you can do as a player character that will improve your actions, your session, your turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's quite a few things to do. Like actually describing what you're doing. Most people they don't. I slash sword, roll die.
Yeah,
that's like be better than that.
Yeah,
that's all I ask. Be better than that.
Yeah,
you don't have to be better than that all the time. Your group might not be that way. You might not be these weirdos with your 40 trillion D. Expertise.
You should be.
You should be.
You could, but be better than I smash sword with dice roll. be better than that. That's like first steps. You know, learn to walk. Damn you, learn to walk. Crawling is for babies.
Well, even like before that,
and bad ones that don't learn to walk.
Pay fucking attention, right?
Yeah,
and drunk to you.
There's so many. There's so many tips. I feel like the fact that there are so many tips, you have to kind of organize the tips almost. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about this so many times. I feel like, but like it's scattered in different videos. So it's like
that's why I want to do a stream about it, so we can like kind of bring back everything
put it all
together.
Oh
yes, Crispy, absolutely room for. I always have room for you, my friend.
Oh my god, Crispy.
There you go. I sent you in a Discord.
He's got a plan. That means he have 8 people on panel.
So
10. I can have 10, but I won't do 10 because it's too much.
Yeah, you're too much crosstalk at 6. But
I feel like
Crispy.
Hey, Crispy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Find yourself.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you.
Well, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
It's only been since like Monday.
Monday.
Oh, yeah, it's like 9 years in YouTube time.
Yeah, it seems longer. Seems longer. I love the topic. Hey, how to becoming a better player, the experience, and all of that. Yeah. Right on. What ground have you already covered?
Nothing. We just started. Like Phil was about to make his first point, basically.
Oh, well,
just that it's important.
Well, let me interrupt.
I was being contrarian as usual.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we.
No, don't be a better player. There you go, Justin.
Yeah, smart.
Damn you!
There's the win.
Roll your die and shut up.
And I think it's important also to mention like what you're trying to do, right? Just like to get an example with the sport. If you were to play. If we were to play like in the soccer together or football for people that are like from across the
cultured people.
Yeah.
Football.
If you were to play like a soccer together and like at some point like one of us suck, you might like there's some they can something a bit like maybe you don't contribute as much to the team, maybe you're holding us back and stuff like that. But there's some case if we're just like it's just about like getting together, we go to the park, we run around the ball, we don't really count point, we drink some beer and stuff like that, then it doesn't like what does it mean in that context to be a better player? Like you just want to be like a better friend, I guess. Like if you're the guy that bring the watermelon shit like that, then maybe that makes you a better player. But if you take the game more seriously, if you say, what, now we're in a team, it's a garage league, but we try to win match and stuff like that. Well, now like just bringing the watermelon won't cut it anymore.
Well,
just being the funniest guy around on the field won't cut it anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to work on that cardio a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
That's for sure what I need to work on for my soccer game. I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So outside of that, what is the benefit to a person at being a better role player, being a better player character? What is the benefit to that person in particular, though? Screw everybody else.
Well, you get more depth in.
Whoa, you get super chats?
Yeah. Whoa. Thank you, Angar. Look at that. With the 246,769D role play. He's our role.
What's that?
Yeah. At some point,
you haven't gotten to that level.
And you have to explain all of them, all the dimension of role play.
Yeah. You got a video to make. You got a 12-hour marathon to make, Hungar.
Yeah, that's right. And you have to be able to. You have to be able to clearly elucidate the difference between 246,768 and 769.
What's the driftwood doing?
Yeah, that's right.
At that level.
It's a great question, though, that Phil, you asked, like, what does the player get out of it? What does the individual participant get out of it? And speaking from my own experience, kind of going down this rabbit hole of deciding that I want to be a better role player and then working on it every time I get a chance to play, which has been admittedly more often now. I'm getting way more out of the hobby than I did before. Like the games that I'm having, I feel like every game I'm just a little bit better, maybe. And I see that improvement as a key driver for my enjoyment in the hobby. So
I'd actually really
always
like to
liked it, but I like it even more now. Like it's so much more. Anyway, sorry, Phil.
Like super chats. Boom. I really wanted to talk about this about our last game. So maybe this would be like a different video topic, but I felt like the last game we did, we were all not making big mistakes. And it was like the most like relaxed, like easy game maybe we've done so far. I don't know how you felt about it.
Well, what I gauge it by, Phil, is how much I want to play the next day.
Yeah.
Like, so if the next morning I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should take a break. And, but if the next morning I'm like, I can't wait until we get together again. That was so great. I've got all these new ideas now I want to try.
Yeah.
I can't wait to try something else. And what about this genre? If my own brain is just egging on that creativity, then I take that as, you know what, this is great. Trying to get better at something is a lot of fun. It prevents that burnout effect, right?
Yeah.
Like
you got to get the squirts out of it.
Yeah,
and I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, Phil, because I had the same sentiment as well. Like in the last game, I think like we were all on point, like we're making like, and that thing, like we got better at it as well. Like just by playing together, right? We work better as a team as well. Like we like we respect each other's times better in turn, stuff like that. We stay in character more. Even it's a new system for some of us, we still like roll with the punches, right? And we stay into it, right?
Yeah, I don't know that the game was like extremely special or not, but it felt like we had hit some kind of plateau where like now it's like we're all kind of have been trained, you know what I mean? And now we can kind of see where to go from there. It's how it feels to me. I don't know.
Well, at least
like
you're
more natural.
At least you're becoming more comfortable with your style.
Yeah, I found it easier. Like the very next morning, I'm looking at the video, I'm rewatching it, and I'm nailing all these timestamps. Like, okay, yeah, here, and
you got tweakers going.
And so, like, there's lots of things to talk about it still. And I just want to make this comment that when we talk about becoming a better player, that's such an individual thing. Like, that's not a prescriptive. Phil, I want you to work on this. No, it has to be more of like, what does Phil want to become better at? Like and what do I want to become better at? And it'll be different, and it may be different from session to session, but it's not something that we sit down and when we're talking about this, we'll talk about how we want the game to go, and we'll talk about what the expectations are from a social contract perspective, and we'll say, well, as a group, we're looking at these few things. We're going to try to test magic out in an old school game. How does that work? But what we don't do is we don't say, Max doesn't say to the rest of us at the beginning of the session or even before the session, I am going to be working on this. Maybe we could do that, but we're not demanding that. It's just something that's happening.
But you mentioned that you mentioned that at some point that you were doing that with your group, right? For yourself, you said like on this session, I want to try to, and I think sometimes we do that, and sometimes like sometimes I just like decide for myself. I don't necessarily like communicate it with you, right? But I decide for myself, like, you know what, this is the point I need to improve. But what you're saying there, I think among our groups, we do self-criticism when we watch back our session. I think we can also like tell other player that because we know each other and we know the vibe that we have, and we can tell sometime, like we tell you Crispy like that
all the time. Yeah. Well, I wear my faults on my sleeve, so you can see them. But in our after game thoughts, and we do these excessive debriefs, these tweaker sessions. We're not entirely, I wouldn't say we're too gentle with one another. We're like, you screwed up here. And this is, but like you said, Max, it's not,
grown
I'm not
man
taking
business.
Offense by the fact that someone says, when you did this thing and Phil was trying to throw the dagger to take out and you made him roll that. And then like, you probably could have gone a different way. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It probably could have gone a different way. I'll take that as constructive criticism. And maybe next time we'll do something different and it'll be even better.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Because we work as a team, that's the thing. But
I mean, wait a second, we're supposed to carry. That was the whole point. Which just to bring it back to the topic, and I think that makes you a better role player when you are looking to improve.
That's very true.
Realizing that you can improve is a huge step for us. It's like the first step in our group. It's like you're not going to really be a 4D player unless you think you can get better, unless you think you potentially have been doing things that are incorrect. And so I think that's a big thing for any hobby.
Yeah, and a lot of people also like they don't like we are like some new people coming in and they don't realize they think I get what you mean, like there's nothing there, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But then when you're in the game you realize it's not so easy. We have like old habits that you have to break out of, right? Asking questions like that, and there's a skill to be developed in there. And I think like you were asking like what's the benefit to the player personally. For me, if it allows me to stay more in the mindset of my character, that's a big benefit, because like now, like in the session, I'm not just there playing a game, I'm there being someone else, right? I'm experiencing this other world, this adventure in the skin of somebody else, and I can like feel kind of how this guy should feel in the moment and stuff like that. And I'm not always drawn back to being around the table and playing a game. And that for me, that's a huge benefit in itself. That's why I engage in this hobby.
Do you guys think we're really close to getting trapped in the game like Tom Hanks in
No.
Monsters?
No.
The warlock.
I do think that it does breed more confidence in your actions the more you're doing it this way. Like I see, like you guys become more confident in your decisions. You know, a lot of the I think the human dice rolling action is a lack of confidence in the decisions you're making as a character. So when you break away from that, you reinforce the lack of indecision and that being confidence.
Yeah, that's a real interesting like aspect of it, is because you're not like trying to interface to get your character to do something. You're just, I'm the character, I'm doing a thing. Like that's kind of one of those big barriers you have to get over, I think, to get that.
It's the embracing of potential failure instead of fearing failure.
One of the most fun things that I've had in these online games is it's just such a different experience to be with other players that are all looking to improve. And
we're all just giving each other hand jobs right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, like back rubs all around.
Sorry about the vulgarity.
But you know what? It's just such a different experience. And then the more we play these games in different settings and rule systems, the more I can see improvement in others. Yep. Like it's easier to see improvement in others than yourself. So it's really nice to have a game group where everyone is like, yeah, I want to be better at this, or I want to look at this, see if I can get, I criticize myself, but at the same time, I'm seeing improvements with the rest of the group. And so it's like, yeah, this is great. Like you said, your earlier statement, Phil, about the last game, which was nothing special. It was just, it was pretty, I would say, generic-ish.
Yeah.
But yet it also, in the same token, it was a good session. We all enjoyed it. We're looking forward to doing it again. There were some improvements, and so
maybe what happened is I stopped trying to improve in that game. I was just like, I'm good. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe I need to look closer.
Well, yes, that can be a bad thing if you let it be persistent, but sometimes it's good to
have fun.
Well, yes, but to take what you've learned and integrate it stably before trying to move forward. Because pushing yourself too hard, too fast can lead to injury. As MrMax can tell you.
You gotta get the W.
Or like an example with music, right? If you want to get better at an instrument, you have to play something that is just like when you practice, you have to play something that's just outside of your reach, right? If you always practice the same thing that you're good at, you won't get better. But sometimes it comes time for recital. And recital is not time now to push your reach. It's time to show what you can play, right? Maybe we should have those recital game and those practice games. Like
actually hubris of calling one of our games a recital game.
Yeah, well, that's the recital game.
This is the perfect recital game. Get ready, everyone.
This kind of thing that has to be like a personal thing. Not like
that was what I was trying to get at.
This time I'll move at this. This time I'll just see how good I've gotten.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Crispy was mentioning earlier that becoming a better player can mean something different at different table, and that's true. For some table, if you play like a very tactical game and stuff like that, like with a lot of rules, for them being better might just mostly mean like knowing the system and knowing all the intrinsic thing that your character can do, the little like detail and stuff like that. So that could be it. I don't think that's what we're gonna talk in general ourselves, right? Just like because that's not maybe the side that interests us more.
You want to take 5 minutes on chat?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Dicestead was saying if somebody is buttered and leave, that's a great form of gatekeeping. Yeah, I agree with that. Not being able to take constructive criticism is the sign of a snowflake.
That's the best way to gatekeep.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not able to,
don't kick them out.
Yeah, you're not able to take criticism. Well, you're dooming yourself.
Yeah.
That's something like when I was coaching people, like I always say, like in lifting, I would always say like your ego is going to be the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome, because people that when you get a guy that maybe can bench quite heavy, but his technique is shit, right? The guy's just strong because he's been doing for a long time, and say like, man, if you just like, yes, it's going to feel weird to change those things, but just if you get used to this new form and stick to it, you're gonna add like fucking like 20 pounds in 2 weeks. But
or at least you won't injure yourself as often.
And at least you want, yeah, exactly. That could be it as well. But because like now they say like, well, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing for so long, and I can bench like, well, then you've been benching like 455 for 5 years. Then you're gonna do that for 5 more years, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a story about me.
Yeah,
that's you benching 455
for 5 years. I keep telling him, Phil, get your fucking shoulder blade together. Yeah. Nicolas said, doing things for fun requires no improvement. I never heard I need to improve my play tactic with dogs.
It's true.
If you're just doing it for fun, but in the same time, improving yourself is fun in itself as well.
Yeah, that's how I would just say, and I'm agreeing with Nicholas, I think here. It's I remember I had a coach in baseball once, and he's like, you know what? We play the game, and it's a game, and it's fun, but you know what else is fun is winning.
Yeah.
And for me, and so he was like, yeah, guys, I want you to practice harder. We're going to work on these drills. We're going to get your fundamentals better, because as fun as you think this is now, wait until you're on a winning team. Then you're going to really feel like that is fun. And for me, there's winning in a tabletop role-playing game is me getting more in character. And so the more I can be in character and feel like I'm in character and still retain all of the other things that I like about the hobby, then that is my win condition. It's not, and in some cases, I feel like I've won, and the molecules or the atoms of my character are spread out over space because I blew up at the end of the session. And I still felt like, you know what, that was great. That was a win condition for me.
This is something that has come up a few times with certain descriptions of 4D and stuff that I've heard, where it's like, people get upset because maybe we don't follow the rules, or they don't think we follow any rules. But it's like our system is pretty strict on rules. Like we actually have quite a lot of rules we're playing by. It's just our rules are governing role playing in our role playing game.
Yeah.
And so it's like when people say, oh, you're not role playing because you're not following the rules. It's like, nah, we kind of are. It's maybe you that aren't following the rules of role playing. You're not actually role playing in your role playing game.
That's a very interesting topic. Like that's something I like to talk about as well. Like because like it's true. Like most game, like they give you rules for like they don't give you rules like most role playing game don't have rules for role play. They just give you rules for like how to resolve
combat resolution
and stuff like that. And combat, and stuff like that. Yeah, bless you.
Thank you.
And it's like if you're not playing baseball in a baseball game.
Yeah, that's right.
You're
Coach will have something to say about it. You're the guy out in the outfield picking up dandelions and looking around.
He's having a good time. He
I've
might
been
be
that
having
guy.
a good time.
I was
But
I-
T-ball
we also
player.
like
I did that a
follow
few times,
the rules
T-ball.
of the game we're playing. Like, you know, sometimes
We
like
do
not
follow
all.
rules, but
Mhm.
it's like secondary almost to the.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right.
to
We
the
do have
4D
like rules. Like
style.
when we say, like, you know, when we say don't project yourself in time, like don't do time violation and talk in first person and don't ask questions to the GM. Those are rules as well. They're rules for role play.
And so doing really well at role playing is winning role playing. You know what I mean?
I think so.
The role winning doesn't mean, hey, my character got something. You're not
No.
role playing though.
Experiencing a panoply of emotion is more key than living at the end of the session.
Have you guys ever experienced an emotion vicariously through your character? I don't know that I have.
Oh, I
have,
do.
yeah.
I've gotten pissed at Crispy as Sisbin.
But you don't. You
Father
don't show
Sisbin was
your
gone.
emotion in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Gotta be well
Why should
balanced
I?
as it is.
Well, I'm
Was it not
sorry.
great?
I'm sorry, Phil, but you're doing it wrong.
It's fair.
But Phil, you touched on an important concept, I think it does pertain to getting better as a player, and that's the realization that the experience of playing, that is the reward.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the faster you can change your thinking to adopt that paradigm that I'm not playing this so that I can get to level whatever, and I'm not playing this just so that I can get the gold. I'm playing it to have the experience, and it's a shared experience as much as it's an individual experience. But the faster we can get to that, then the more we can get out of it. So,
I think I'm much more focused on like the good story, rather than the immersion almost.
That's the
I
thing.
don't know if that's true, but
I would say like this would probably like about like step 3 to becoming a better player, which we will come back later. But first, let's welcome another ginger.
Oh, no way.
How's it going, everyone?
How are you doing?
No, it's only like
good.
half ginger from the eyebrow down.
Yeah, I think you should have kept the hair and just enjoyed
you did
the
it right.
refreshment.
You did
I
it
like
right.
it.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Punished Fraser is what it is.
Oh,
It's metal.
I
I'll
enjoyed
be able to
watching
be
this
on
guy
for like
going
30
bald,
minutes or
knowing that
so.
I never will.
I can only be on for about 30 minutes or so, but thought I'd drop in. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. So you've been Ginger first. Do you think you can get better as a player?
Yeah, you can. You basically
It was
just got to
just
do
tutorials,
it.
too.
Keep doing it. And focus on being in character. That's the most important thing. I don't know if I'm just pandering to everyone here, but
Yeah.
Well, I am. You're all doing it wrong.
No, but we're just like starting in the topic, and we're just like established like you can get better, and
It's just so much easier to get better if you surround yourself with other players that want to get better. Because otherwise you're the weirdo in the group that's like, why are you so worried about the tense that you're using when you speak? Why are you so worried about like your pronoun or your third person or first person? But when everyone's like, how do we, and we're all talking about this all the time, how do we get more in character and how do we stay there? That makes it so much easier to become a better role player.
Well, it's easier to do anything in a team than it is.
Yeah, you can hold each other. There's
Opposition
there's like an accountability thing there, but you're also modeling, and you're modeling for each other what it works. And then because we're all trying to do this, we can talk about it afterwards and say, well, what worked and what didn't work.
Well,
and when you have people like when everyone's on the same page that's what you want to do, it's way easier. My home group right now is a big mix of a couple of people who are more into the immersive thing, especially Nick, and some people who are totally new and not. I mean, they're doing silly and wacky stuff, so it's a big mixed bag.
Are they like, do you see them changing at all, or
what's that?
Do you see them like adopting a more immersed style?
Oh yeah, I mean, like they've definitely over time gotten a lot more invested in it. Even by the end of the first session, I had one player that was basically like, oh, this is my opportunity to troll my friend running this game. But by the end of the session, he was really, he kind of understood what we were doing. And he comes from like video games, playing like like team-based like MOBA games like Dota and everything, talking about he's always like, as we were progressing, he kept being like, okay, well, what should I take next when I level up? Like, what does the group need? Blah blah blah. And we kept trying to tell him, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, first of all, pick whatever you want, but second of all, it's like, that's not what this is. Like, it's not about optimizing this like build within the party. Like, we don't need more DPS or anything like that. It's really more about like, who is this person that you're playing?
So that comes back to what we're just like talking about, like just before you join, right? About like, you know, when I saying that probably like step 2 or 3, right? Understanding that it's not about winning the game, it's not about getting more powerful and stuff like that, getting better player. I would say like step 1 is like pay attention to what's happening, right? Pay attention to what's happening on the table. Like, don't be on your cell phone, stuff like that. That's very basic stuff, right?
It's super important, especially on other players' turns, so that you can riff off of them. It makes it so much more. I don't want to keep using the word immersive, but pretty much immersive.
Yeah.
You know, you're there for an activity. Invest yourself in the activity, right? You just like pay some respect to the time of everybody else, right? But if you just want to hang out and stuff like that, like, you know, you join them after the game is done, right? If they're gonna stay for some beer and stuff like that.
Well, even if you just wanted to hang out, like, let's just suppose that all you wanted to do is just hang out with some buddies. You're still gonna have a better time if you're not the jackass that's not listening to others and then expect everyone to listen to you. Right?
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing wrong with just playing a hangout game, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, you don't want to be the guy playing crazy eights at the poker table.
Nothing wrong with doing anything that you can do. Who cares?
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you know.
That's I wouldn't go that far.
I would extreme but absolute freedom.
But that's why
where's my chainsaw? What's your address again?
It's what we call like the 1D game, right? You're just there to hang out with friends, stuff like that. I'd say like, you know, hang out with friends is important, and having like social time and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's like, that's an important social function as well. You can use role-playing game as an excuse to get together with your friend. That's good, right? If your friend are not that into it, but they just want to hang out, and that gives you an excuse to meet every week or every month or whatever.
It's better than being antisocial.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
But
it's the same thing with like getting together to play board games. Like, I like board games. I like playing board games with my friends. It's a lot of fun. But
I would rather play a board game than a 1D game.
The
difference
with the board game is you don't have like the continuation every, like if you're playing a campaign, you know, like you expect, like, you know, board game, it's easy to drop in and out. Oh, I cannot make it this week or this session or whatever, right? With role-playing games, it's gonna, like, especially if you get more invested into it, there's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna try to make time to be there because I don't want my character to be NPC or being, you know, it's like But then again, like that require a bit more investment. And if you do like
we should talk about what it takes to run a 1D game and like why you would ever do it, because it's like what the hell are you doing? Like, you're prep? Are you prepping then? Do you have to prep?
You
now?
prep joke.
Prep your 80s references.
Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't going there with the prep statement.
Anyways.
Oh.
Well,
you gotta go to the pharmacy.
What's number 2? What's step 2, Max?
So okay, number 1, pay attention. Number 2, probably like know the rules, know what your character can do, right?
No.
You don't need to be like necessarily like a deep expert, like know like every rules for every class and stuff like that, but at least know what's relevant to your character.
Yeah.
So you're not able to ask questions.
Know everything that's on your character sheet, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The bare minimum. You should know what everything means on your character sheet, so you don't have to. What does that mean again? What does this do? What?
That's why I really hate disorganized character sheets.
Oh, me too. I was looking at because I ran a BRP one shot, and I really hate the character sheet. It's a cool system, I like it, but it's the character sheet just sucks, and there's so many that really are not great. Like the first edition Axe character sheets, I think, are really not very good. So I'm using like an alternate that someone's made, and even that one I'm dissatisfied with. But then I was looking at Mithras, which is a really cool game, and the character sheet is so beautiful. It's so simple. There's like space for everything. Everything you need is there. It tells you how to calculate all your statistics on the sheet. Like I was just like, when I finish a game, this is going to be like I'm aiming for the cheat to look like this. You know,
you see, like that's something I'm not necessarily a fan of. Like when they say like, oh, I'm going to tell you how to calculate your characteristic. If it's something I'm only going to do with character creation, that can be in the book, and then it like put less information on the sheet. If it's something that I'm going to use like regularly, then maybe it deserves to be on the sheet. Like I made a line there. And it's something I tried to do with the character sheet of Bastard Sword, which I'm still kind of revising here and there as the rule evolved. I tried to have like things that are relevant to one thing. Like in combat, there's like everything is going to be in that section of the character sheet.
Yes.
If you do like adventuring, if you do like a survival, everything's going to be like equipment is all together. Try to keep like some logic in there. We'll see if I succeed in that.
It's a lot of character sheet.
It's a lot of character sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 4 half pages or whatever?
4.5
it's one page back and
4
forth.
half pages.
Yeah, 4 half pages, which is a weird way to say it. No, but it's 4 half
like there's
pages.
panels. It's like 4
because
panels.
it's in landscape and you can fold it in half. So it makes like a little booklet of
Oh,
page,
okay.
and you can just like, in combat, you can just like put it the back side and just like everything you need is there. And then, you imagine your equipment, then you open it and then you get all you need there, right? Just like that was the idea. So yeah, that's why it's 4 half pages.
Just a comment on learning a system to become a better player.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is when you're looking at and you're reviewing the system, you should be looking for ways that the system informs how you can interact with the world and all the characters within it. So always looking at, okay, so the rule is this, but that is so that I can do these things. And the game is giving me some suggestions of how I could interact with the world. And so then that's just opening up options for you when you get into the game. So you're like, what can I do here? Well, if you've read the skill section, if there is a skill section and you're looking at your character sheet and you have these skills, then this is something, okay, this informs how I should be interacting with the world based on what I've said my training is. And that's different than just understanding, here's the rule mechanic, here's the dice mechanic. Of course, that as a bare minimum, you have to know the dice mechanic, but you're really looking for, how can I be more into this fictional world based on my understanding of the mechanics? If the mechanics and the system says that there's separate rules for cover or an aimed shot or something like that, well then I probably, if I understand the rules well, I should be looking for opportunities of using that in my description as I describe how I'm acting in in there's an expectation that I would use some of those at some point.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it's not just an expectation. It's like the rules are telling you this is what you do in the game. This is,
But that's almost, for me, that's almost like more advanced, because that's like when we talk about, like, we often say like the rules is the setting, right? The rules inform you about, like, there's always an implicit setting. They're like, if in the rules the other thing about hacking, you say, well, hacking is gonna happen that world. You don't need the lore to tell you that, right? Just like there's hacker everywhere. And you could have a game that tell you that there's hacker everywhere. If there's like no rule for hacking, well, then there's not. So it's not gonna happen, right?
Well, it can also help with interaction with other players too. Like if you understand in Traveler, you have the skill, what is it called, skill chain or whatever it is. Then you're looking for ways of using your skills that could help someone else that's doing theirs, and that's how you're doing your aid another. It's not just rolling a d20 and trying to get it higher than a 10. You're actually looking for that what is that called? A symbiotic or some kind of supplementary way of using your complementary way of using your skills to help out another. Well, that's right in the rule book. If you've read that section, then that should help you think of, maybe I'll do that at some point.
How's it going?
Hey Z, how's it going?
I didn't say hi earlier.
And the arm also.
And so that would be like step 2, knowing the system. I would say like step 3 would be that, like, understand that it's not about getting more powerful. It's not about winning the game. It's about like immersing yourself in your character, knowing like finding out what's the life of this character, right? What's happening to this guy? You created this guy, and you don't know his future, and we're figuring out together at the table.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. The win condition is that I feel like I was really there. Like
Yeah.
that's the best. That's the goal, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I refer to being fun. Like that's the fun.
Yes.
Knowing that I've been immersed in the setting and the world and the character, primarily. But
well, those are the things you're going to remember, right?
Yeah,
you're going to remember that. That's what you remember.
Yeah, if you're not hitting the highs and lows of that character, you're not having fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. It's like I look at it as like it's a secondarily. There's a difference between amusement and entertainment, and the kind of enjoyment that I get out of the activity when everyone's firing in all cylinders and we're all doing the same thing.
I think that's interesting with the flow state there. I think you could see that as well.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's probably what we were talking about earlier too in the last session we had. We were in the flow state. We're just like there on the table, being our character and doing what our character would do, right?
Yeah, and that's again like this game that I'm running right now. I'm running Adventure Conqueror King 2, and I've had a couple of really rough sessions. I've had a couple of great sessions with it too, but I came to a kind of a point where I figured out that like, okay, we're not all on the same page here, so I can't really get what I want out of this. So if I can't have the fun that I want, as I define it, then I am going to try and maximize the other type of fun, and that has worked. It's been a whole lot of fun, but it has also ended up contributing to people getting more into character. Our last session was great, like really, really good. But part of that was also that we got out of the dungeon. We weren't doing a dungeon crawl anymore, so we were doing more interesting things, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a difference, and I don't.
Although in dungeon, that's where there's the most door usually, and we all know that RPG is about opening doors.
Yeah, it's about opening doors.
Yeah, exactly. Next door.
Yeah, it's so I don't know. I don't begrudge people who want to have we'll call it fun 1 versus our fun 2, but it's I just find it so much more fulfilling and so much more engaging and entertaining to do what we're doing.
And the thing that I always say when we talk about that as well, right? Because I think like for me, like the winning condition, like you say, is being immersed, is being in character, is feeling that you were there.
Yeah.
And for me, this is what RPG can do that those other RPG cannot do, right? Or have a hard time doing, right?
Yeah.
Because you got this freedom of this creative freedom that you can like just make stuff up as you go, which you don't have in a video game. Because you don't have like the same win condition of competitiveness in the board that you have in a board game and stuff like that. You don't have like just the rules, and you're just like, it's something different. So for me, like I always want to lean into that.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's like lean into the strength of the medium.
That's why I think Minecraft was so popular, is because there was no win condition.
There's no plot. There's no objectives. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that made that game so popular compared to any other, is because it was the most like an actual RPG.
Yeah, and in the sense also like where the fun comes from that is the fact that like you have such a tangible effect on the world. Like you're literally changing the shape of the game world. And in a role-playing game, you should be doing that as well. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm digging in hills, but
well, it's also the unquestioning choice of what part of the game you want to interact with, right? Like there's like the redstone in Minecraft, that's like electronics or whatever. You can just totally ignore that exists. It's still there in the world, but you don't have to do anything with it. That's not your specialty. You can kill monsters or not. Right, like, and that's the thing. Like, I honestly think if you find a Minecraft player and introduce them to a role-playing game, it'll be a lot easier to get them in the mindset than what you said, Dota.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
You got to think about like.
I think you're onto something there too, because that would also be like the ideal kind of candidate for being in a sandbox world.
Yeah,
they know that make your own goal, do your own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, any sandbox does that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, more or less.
Well, I don't know. It's tough if like there's people who have been playing RPGs the way that like Critical Role or whatever does. they're stuck in a mindset of like, okay, the DM's going to, set something up for me, and I'm going to take a crack at it, and I'm just going to keep waiting for these things to be fed to me, like spoon fed to me, and you're not going to get a great game out of that, in my opinion.
And then you've got Mr. Colville, who just needs to be given a copy of like the Warhammer manual and told to go away.
Yeah.
Well, like what Matt was saying, we don't want to have a situation where the players are too passive, because we're talking about becoming better players, and I'm not sure that you're becoming more passive is a good thing. Like you want to be, be better than that. You want to be able to react and not just
yeah. That was about I was about to say a step 4. Be active, be involved. Yeah. I don't know if there's something else that should come before that. Maybe that should be a little further. What do you think?
I think it should be earlier.
Can I address the chat for 1 second?
What?
The chat for 1 second. Your problem is you're trying to get him to play D&D.
What are you talking to?
Bleaker.
I gotta get Justin to talk to my kid. He's playing Minecraft right now, and I can get him to play D&D.
Yeah, your problem is it's D&D.
Just throw his computer in the garbage.
And your D&D rule books.
Yeah.
Well. maybe you can get something from that stream to bring up some argument, convince him about creative freedom, and you can do whatever you want, right? Just like
so you should definitely be proactive.
You're in Germany. You're gonna get in jail for you typing those words.
Now it's on the stream.
My chair is very comfy.
If we're just talking about how I just grabbed the laptop from him, and now he's crying. What next? Social services are on the way.
Give him the books.
I've already called them.
Child Protective Services. So
the books are on landscape form because it's more like a laptop. It'd be like more familiar to Zoomer.
There you go.
I'm thinking of the books here.
There you go.
Well, the BattleTech rule book.
So you get to like the end of the book, and you're like, I gotta hold up all the pages.
Yeah, but you got
it doesn't
stronger.
bend yet.
Oh.
So definitely, you got to be an active player, which means you need to have reasons to act.
Yeah.
So you need goals and things that piss you off.
Yeah. Can we put a pin on that? I just want to go to chat a bit before because
Sure.
I didn't make it through last time. And Nicolas was saying Crispy was a great example. I remember watching his Centauri game, hearing his self-criticism, and then seeing the same point being improved in their game. I think that's true.
An absolute specimen.
Yeah. 4D role playing is changing the way we role play to try to attract new people. We are not interested. We're not interested in traditional role playing games. We are doing things like we have for 40 years, and I think it's working. I think we see like a lot of new people like saying, you know what, that's interesting. I want to try that. Right?
I've heard Dice Tales make that take before. I think that's a great point.
I don't think you have anything to lose.
It's fresh.
Yeah, it's fresh.
It's fresher than what you've been doing for 40 years.
Yep. It provides sustained interest for people by letting your character development by more deeply experiencing that character worldview. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the idea that your actions as a player in the game, your actions gives material for other players to react to. You're not just reacting to the game master all the time. You're reacting to one another, and then you're giving them food and material that they can use, and then you're also giving. It's more of a conversation then as the game master is reacting to what you're doing, and not just always providing the catalyst to try to move things along. And the catalyst really should be coming from the characters that are there more than the game master. Now we will at times talk about a push, and that's just to like, okay, well now there's an obstacle, and then it's back into the players'
It's
camp.
just curating a story. It's not really like pushing the game, I think. I guess it is pushing the game. But
what's that feel like? The push, the
it's meant to like kind of make things interesting again, as opposed to
it's the world doing what the world does, which just messes up all your plans, and so now you have to adjust.
But that's like a real thing, right? So
every day, every day.
So if the world isn't at least trying to mess up your plans, you're probably not doing it right.
Of mice and men, right?
I'm just chucking chicken hearts everywhere. People are reacting. It's awesome.
Garm was saying to Nicolas, I understand the meaning, but I do find fun and enjoyable in trying to improve as a player of a video game.
Yeah,
like a fighting game, or in this game, a TTRPG. It's fun, but I agree with that. I think we should go behind having fun.
You can make video games into hobbies also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and video games are fine. Like I love certain video games. They're a lot of fun. I've sunk too many hours into some of them. But they're better at different things than RPGs are. And RPGs are better. They each have certain things that you just can't replicate. And so when people talk about like in game design, when they're talking about like, you know, the gameplay loop of this RPG and like what's the reward cycle and all this stuff, I'm like, this is not the right way to think about this. Like I'm not looking for these little hits of dopamine, you know, on like collecting the coins or whatever. It's like I'm looking for something that is a little more sustained and deeper, and it takes a little while to get there sometimes. And it's more rewarding. It's a different kind of satisfaction.
Imagine playing a role-playing game where you have to find all the coins in a room. That's hardcore.
Yeah. Now, some people like make a game like that. You know, they like puzzle, and you have to find the exact solution. You have like to find those like it's the same thing, right? Just like you know, you just have to guess what the GM thought, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing, but not as good.
I call that looting all the pillows.
Yeah. Yeah. I still say it's no fun when you build up horror in the Call of Toulouse just as the climax comes, some idiot makes a jokes, and that's also could be like something like, you know, like get the tone, like get what people are trying to do.
That's why the importance of the whole 1D game is that everyone's playing a 1D game.
Yeah.
You need the group to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Staying in character solves that so much, so well, because then if you're in character, you're less likely to be like, oh yeah, remember that one time in Friends when like, of course you don't, because everyone's going to be in character. So you just saying some weird reference about Joey Chandler, whatever, Rachel, it doesn't make any sense. And so everyone will be like, what the heck?
Well, you can make like in character jokes, right? Those are fine.
Yeah,
it's long, but it's in character, right? So it's 1920s Call of Cthulhu setting. Okay, well then, every time you open your mouth, it should be something that fits into that.
Yeah, some really funny moments of the Wild Hell game when Crispy was playing like an idiot.
Yeah, that was fun. Like, I should do that more. I have a natural affinity.
It actually sounded really unusual when you didn't conjugate your verbs correctly.
I was
like, oh, that's strange.
Yeah, that was for Ginger Fraser. He said the air was fine. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind people like balding. I think it's kind of funny, right? If you lean into it. Just I don't fucking care.
Yeah, exactly. Why not lean into it?
Yeah, exactly. Like let it fucking grow wild on the side and bald on the
shave it in the middle.
That's the best hairstyle, man.
Yeah. I had a solid receder going for a while. It was like
it really revealed my actual hairline though, which is like up here. And there's this little tuft in the front.
Your little front brusher.
I'm still leaning into the tuft in the front. That's okay.
You've got enough of it there.
6D role playing is when you have 4D role playing and 2D fun.
Peaks at 4.
But talking about staying in character, that was something that like maybe 2 sessions ago in this Axe game, it was like by the end it was like depressing for me. Like it had gotten so tactical and so out of character, and I was just like, holy shit, like this was horrible. And so Nick and I talked for like an hour the next day on like, what do we do? And he's like, because he's running a different game on alternating weeks. So we go, and so he's like, what we're gonna do is be dictatorial about everything is in character, stay in character the whole time. So he did that in his game, which really it went off very well. It's a much simpler system than Axe as well. And then when it came time for our session last time, that kind of carried over a little bit, and I still had to do some of that, but it really
what's the correction look like as a GM?
Oh,
someone starts like going out of character, or describe something. What do you?
I mean, there's.
I recommend shunning.
No, I can't shun though. Is the thing. This is the problem. Is that we've got. Like we now have 7 people at this table, which is also way too many.
That's way.
And you can 6 of us. Yeah, 6
Cut
of
that
us.
in half.
are couples.
Oh,
right
God. Yeah.
Right
so
at the
it's like,
start, you say one of you is
And
not.
then
can't just
one
be
is
like,
the
get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
What I do, it depends. Sometimes I won't respond and I'll just wait for them to correct it. But other times I'll just quietly say, could you rephrase that, but in character? And
That's
then
good.
and that's fine.
That's
It's
a
not
good one. I'm going to use that.
Are you I can't, maybe this might be an answer that we do with like one shot one time, but I'm struggling figuring out how to do like domain play with like is it 4D
Oh
game?
man. I mean that
is that what y'all are doing yet?
So we're going in that direction right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably going to end up with their, if they play their cards right, they'll end up with their own domain. We're definitely trending towards our first mass combat. I will say one thing about Adventure Conquer King 2. I do have some problems with the system, but the domain stuff so far looks awesome. It's very simple, but there's a lot of rules because it covers a very broad space, but it's super well thought out. Like how you calculate your domain income from all the peasant families and how you can lose and gain peasant families through all these different circumstances. There's kind of random events for things that can happen throughout an individual month.
But that's like a point where we're talking about like you need to know the system.
You sort of do. So this is something
with
where
domain play, it seems like there's a lot of like maybe looking at charts or I don't know what the hell.
There is some of that.
So it's like, how do you do that in character?
But a lot of it, I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways you can handle it, but there's a lot of it is going to still be in character. Like a lot of what we've done, like there was a massive combat that happened in the dungeon on the other side of a door from the characters because they basically executed a big triple cross and got a bunch of the factions to kill each other, which was awesome. But they were not exactly involved in that. They loved how that turned out, though. As far as mass combat, you do need like an actual rule system for that. But I like a lot of everything. I came from Vampire the Masquerade mostly. This is a game of treachery and deceit, and that's what my players like to do. And so a lot of that's going to be in character. However, if you want to do things like I want to send out assassins to go and screw with the nation, like a nearby city or whatever, there's a system for rolling that and resolving it. The alternative is that you have them play different characters and actually play that out, which can be fun in its own right.
So I guess just roll it, figure out if it's a success or failure. And then
it's like taking yourself from the position of being like the soldier on the battlefield to like the president in, the ready room, whatever it's called.
That's a problem I often have with domain play or mass combat stuff is that oftentimes the system in itself like bring you out of first person to third person. Like you see like bird eyes view and stuff like that, and now and for me it's always like I often talk about epistemology in role-playing game, right? You know what your character know what he knows,
right?
Because he interact with the world and live in that world, not because the GM told him, not because he read on a chart and stuff like that. And then if you want to do domain play, I think you have to lean into that a lot, right? You meet up with the advisor and you kind of role play. You can do a lot of that like off camera if you want, and just like do a resume in between session and stuff like that. All right, because otherwise like it's just gonna be like everybody talking every time. But it's the thing, if the guy that is responsible for your to manage your finance of this province get attacked on the way and doesn't reach you, well, then you don't know what happened, right? Or the messenger get captured and you don't know, right? You don't just get this information beamed down to you because you're all on a chart. So like, I think when you want somebody to do something, an alliance and stuff like that, you have to go and talk to him, especially if you're doing a medieval thing where there was no mass communication and stuff like that. You watch Game of Thrones, people meet in tent and they try to make deal, and then like, okay, I'll lend you some men to this fight, and then like the fight can be resolved when you don't see, but then for me that's the interesting part.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because like there's like the Broasar guys, they're always talking about like you can handle all this stuff in like downtime actions, and this allows them to get like all of this other stuff going in the game, which is very but it's so they can do things like going on adventures and going to the dungeon and doing this other stuff where I'm like, I want literally the exact opposite. All of that stuff you're doing off camera, that's the game to me. Like that is the game and what I want to do at the table and play in character. And I was so happy. And Nick was like laughing. He's like, I might actually run Adventure Conquer King now, because there's a system in that game for abstractly delving the dungeon. And so you can, through a system of rolls, it's like, you're looking at like the dungeon level, dungeon size versus average party level. It tells you how many encounters there would be. Yeah, a couple of modifiers. You do a single roll, and then it tells you the result, and then you calculate treasure, magic items, whatever. And I was like, we could just flip what they're doing, and like all the downtime stuff is all right. We went and pillaged this dungeon, and when we came back, it's all the stuff we're doing in town, and all the wheeling and dealing, and we're stabbing rulers in the back and doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, until you die in there.
No, you can't. Like it accounts for like how many people took mortal wounds, and everything. So I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
No, in that situation, you die on a boar hunt.
Yeah,
I mean, you just got back from killing 100 goblins and a dragon, and then died on a boar hunt.
Yeah,
because you get too drunk.
Exactly.
Are these Game of Thrones references?
Oh, yes.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah. There's Worlds Without Number, Phil, that we did the last game in.
Yeah,
it does have a domain play aspect called the faction play, and we could try that. I'll have to bone up on it, but
with
there's
the non-diad.
Yeah, that's right. So like that could be the faction, right? The Nakabayashi.
Of course.
Yeah, or Max, your character's religious organization that could become a faction, and so we could absolutely explore some domain play and try it out, because I think it's not something that we've really done yet in our style. So
I think you definitely should, because I would like to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
But
we should talk about it at some point. We should do a fucking stream. That'd be the whole topic at some point.
Yeah,
I have some idea and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. But
I gotta run too. I'm sorry. I gotta run. It's Friday night. Yeah. It's date night. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for jumping by, guys.
Yeah,
guys that got dates.
Sorry, not to try to rub it in or anything, but
all right. Good night, guys.
Party on both of you.
Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Oh, I wanted to ask Ginger Fraser something. Oh well.
Get him up on Discord
some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you get him on the stream, he has to answer you, right? Or you said that's like lame, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's depending on what you want to ask, depending on what you want.
I was gonna. No, I had a. It wasn't like for him to do anything. It was just. Never mind. Who cares?
So, give me your liver.
Right. My mom. She needs.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna post the. Should I post the link in chat?
Yeah, sure. Just don't be a shadow.
What is it? 5? Are we on step 5?
What? Step 5? Step 1. I forgot. Step 1, pay attention.
I thought you had these written down or something.
No, I'm just making up stuff. What do you think? I prep for those things?
I don't know. You had like a whole list going.
I assume you.
I mean, at some point we have to talk about, say where you are, what you're doing, and what you're saying.
Yeah, step 4 was be active, and we didn't really talk about that. We talked about it a bit on the side. I think that's what I think. We're next one would be step 5, but step 4 we can talk a little more about step 4. Be active. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, I think one of the steps shouldn't have been a step.
Sorry,
I said I think we're on step 5, but one of the steps probably shouldn't have been a step.
Well, step 1 is pay attention. Oh. Step 2 is know the rule. Step 3 is what is step 3? Understand that the goal is not winning. The goal is not and step 4 is be active. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. People in chat, if you can confirm or infirm that. It doesn't really matter. People that are watching at home, if you follow along, but the number doesn't really matter.
You guys have codified these steps somewhere?
No, I'm just making that up as I go.
Okay. Maybe you should.
That's what we're doing now.
No. I'm telling you to write it fucking down so you don't forget, bro.
Maybe somebody else can do it. Watching the stream,
and maybe put it in your book.
Yeah, maybe. But I should write rules about role playing. Yeah.
Always start at Taco Bell.
No, that's going to be a distraction during the game. All right, be active. Be active in the session. So what do we mean by that? I mean, like, you're not there to be an audience member.
Yeah.
You're not there waiting for the GM to tell you a story, right?
You're taking your turn and actually doing something during it.
Yes.
It might not be in sequence, like some games have, but I find as long as everybody goes, it's not really important what order you go in. You guys, your opinions on that?
While doing something in your turn, well, I think sometimes it's fine to skip your turn, basically. But we have this thing we call like anchoring. That, and if your character like don't want to do anything in this turn, right? It's your turn to go. You don't really have anything to contribute to the scene. You can just like state a minor action that your character is doing that is anchoring him in the world, right? That's the whole thing, right? Or
I'm walk over to the door.
Yeah, or I'm sinking down in my chair, or
I'm literally doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
do you want me to sit up?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Should. I'm all.
But that's you should stand up. That's the new thing now. Stand up stream. I'm trying to start a trend.
Okay, Molyneux.
Okay. But yeah, anchoring. It's a way to kind of skip your turn that still put you in the world, active, existing. Hello, Zanalar. By the way, I didn't say hi.
Yeah.
No worries. Keep the conversation flowing.
Yeah. What do you think of the step we had so far?
I just realized I was muted. Am I muted still?
No, now we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
No.
But you've been silent before, like, so I don't know if you were muted and trying to talk, but
I was muted.
Oh, sorry if I did.
I was like, that's the 8th time that Max has talked over me. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Well, it's because you weren't taking your turn.
I didn't want to say anything. It would be rude.
You weren't anchoring yourself in the
I should
scene.
have anchored myself. What I was going to say is you can't just like act. You have to have, or attempt to have some sort of reasons, or like, or motivations, it's important.
Yeah. Should that be? Should that should probably come before like be active?
Yeah,
play a character with motivation, with
with a personality as well.
Yeah.
And but we talk a lot about personality and developing a personality kind of on the fly in the game. But it ends up being like the next game we play, if we ever do a 2-shot, it's usually like the characters are much more established. I find. I guess that's normal. Of course.
Well, like for me, like the first. Sometimes I think about who the character is gonna be before. But when the rubber hits the road, right?
Yeah.
When my character interact with your characters, then sometimes like, oh, what I thought, that's gonna be cooler if I go this way with it, right? Just gonna get more interesting interaction and stuff like that. So there's that as well, right?
So do you usually go into a game with like kind of an archetype and then figure it out from there? Or?
Yeah, I kind of usually like I'm very like broad stroke. What's important to this guy? Like what are his values? What does he want? Stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And stuff oftentimes that's probably not gonna be relevant to the game, but it's just like guiding me to
figure out what you're saying. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I probably mentioned this before on other streams, but there's this How to Be a Great GM, Guy Schlandler's, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Big role-playing game channel. He's got a pretty good video about the archetypes or the types of characters, which I think is pretty good guidance. So you like pick what your character's role would be in a show or something, whatever, where you're like the one that's always like the worry wart, or you're the one that's like quick to anger, or like, that kind of thing. You're the thinker, you're the planner, or you're the one that's trying to keep the peace, like, so you go in with just like one of those and then you kind of build your personality off of that.
Yeah, that could be
It's pretty
a good starting point.
Good advice.
Good evening, Azimuth.
Oh, geez. The gang's
Hello.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Games
Last time we
back.
were all together, I ended up in the hospital. So
Already.
Well, I mean, I have a voodoo doll that has a name on it. It says speciesist.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you've recovered. All joking aside.
yeah.
I assume you can hear me, obviously.
Well, he's here now. Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you well.
Yes.
Yep.
I watch you guys' game run by Crispy.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
You're using the same background, actually.
I am.
Frill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too, but just
I
like
I like to keep them for like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
Yeah.
So did you like it or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few questions. That's why I kind of poked at the stream.
Good.
oh,
And not to to push back on
I'm already sensitive about it. So good.
the whole 4D. Oh no, well, I
No,
mean,
you're fine. I'm just
He's fucking
Bristling.
well, and like I also saw the one where you ran and someone made some kind of shitty comment and you just read it and like, where they said something about I think the game being slow or something like that. I mean, it felt
yeah.
a little off.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are gonna be-
Oh, the Wild Hell game.
They,
Yeah, the Wild Hell
they
game.
seem to be faster than any other games I watch online. So.
yeah, and then people are
we got
always
it done in 2 hours.
Yeah, and I know
Yeah,
we
the
can
second
look
one was
each other proverbially in the eye, but this is, in this format, no one would ever really talk shit unless they really had something to say. But at the same time, though,
Whoa, what's this? I talk shit all the time, motherfucker.
well,
I
that's
really
just
want to
it.
hear what you have to say, Azimuth.
That's why I said most.
Yeah.
You guys are clearly an outlier, but not. And again, this is not a. I'm not throwing shade.
It's fine.
Well, I was gonna make this joke about how I'm not, no shade, and was in the desert. But anyway, the fact that it's bring it in. There's a threat. There's a problem. I was wondering how you handle it, and you already kind of halfway touched it earlier in the stream. It's called the push, the game master push.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of drag and shoe leather in a game where you're constantly kind of trying to, without that cue of like, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn. Or when it bounces back, there's this little bit of drag where you're kind of, breathlessly waiting for, should I jump in here? Like, for instance, in the desert game, Crispy had a monster coming at you and he's going 40 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. He's clearly giving you cues to like act. And then I can't remember who took action real quick in fighting the goblin on the fucking tiny
Big
T-Rex.
dinosaur? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so my point is how do you navigate that shoe leather, that drag you get in all stories? Because that's one of, if my opinion, one of the most important parts of a game master is not just to throw shit at the fucking players and watch what they do, but also like an editor or a director go, hey, let's move this forward, right?
Yep.
Without throwing shit at them. How you choosing to handle that, and also how do you deal with this kind of drag?
I don't know.
It kind of is. That's why we have push.
It's a little bit.
But I don't think it's the whole job of the GM.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's also the job of the player as well. Like that's why we talk about like be active, and like at some point the player can say, okay, let's get moving, right? It's a skill also we can develop as players. Sometimes we are sticking too long in the same scene where like the juice kind of been squeezed already, right? There's nothing more.
I talked about this at the end of that game too, where we said there were some slow parts, but it was like we kind of wanted to be there still, like with conversations and stuff. They were interesting to us, so we stayed with it. Like the conversation between me and Max's character about our religions or whatever. It was kind of a drag, but it's like we're interested, so we're just going to keep
exactly.
Because we're not ready.
That's a matter of pacing, right? Do you want to do like a Marvel movie where it's always action and like the blue laser, and then okay, let's move to the next scene. It's always like something popping up, and just like, and then you fucking like it's like being a roller coaster, right?
And the reason I bring that up, the reason I bring that up is to say that in those situations, I'm not really interested in the GM speeding it up.
No, exactly. Me neither. Me neither, but I like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
slower pacing as well. I like those, like, we talk. There's like a character being built where the world is being built, because like we're talking,
Yeah.
like you said, we're talking about a region and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's still like, for me, it's still interesting. Like I still like we're not just like making a little joke and talking about nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's
Sometimes it's important to be in a pretentious French foreign film
yeah, exactly.
than a
Which we
Marvel
just call French
Disney
film.
production. You know, like
It's not just a French film; it's a pretentious French film. That's
specifically
that's
a French,
right?
a pretentious
It's
French.
redundant.
Sometimes it's more important to be in that. You know, it's better to have the players move the initiative than some clunky die roll mechanic that is half baked and makes no sense 90% of the time.
So but to answer your question, because it was not like with the 10, 20 or 40, 30, whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, that is speeding it up, right? I don't like, what do you think it looks like outside of like our style? Like, what does it look like?
Oh well, that's a loaded question. You know that. I mean, you got the war gamers that flirt with a story.
I guess okay. Then I have a different question.
The hardcore story driven individuals, and you guys are
okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Everyone's got like a different push, and you guys push real hard on the whole staying in character, which I find interesting. And you also don't tolerate the type of player. I can't remember the stories you guys have said, but I had one. I'll never forget him. Me and my long-term player was referring. He would just sit there and he would just toss a pin the whole time, wait until it was his turn to fight something. Then he would just roll dice, and then he'd go back. It's like he was just there to gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're not using money, but using hit points. And I can't remember if I heard. I'm pretty sure I heard it on your channel, but I've said it's something similar. You're not a dice roller.
Mm-hmm.
Human dice roller.
Human dice roller. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah, you're just an observer at that point, which is, I guess, fine.
Part of the audience.
But
you might as well give the game master a flashlight to hold under his chin and just sit back and listen to the story.
I mean, at this point, you're like watching a movie with multiple choice answers that you can choose. Like I pick choice 2.
Yeah, well, that or a video game. That's what it is. All video games in the end up like being multiple choice, right?
Not
Minecraft.
Not Minecraft or Space Engineers.
Yeah. The forums say the slower pacing contradict what Shoner said about things moving at the pace of a movie. Characters really talk in a room for like, and that again, that depends on the style of movie we're talking about, right? Just like it depends. If you look at like Breathless or Mad Piero, so like those Godard movie.
I don't really subscribe to the idea that RPGs should be like movies.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. I mean, Shauner's gonna Sean.
Shauner's
gonna Sean, and I watch his channel. Don't agree with everything he says. I look forward to talking to that gentleman one day.
Yeah, we're not a monolith either. We have like different idea on some stuff. Like there's some point like we disagree on, right?
RPGs have a lot of similarities with a lot of different mediums, but it's its own medium. And like and not only that, it's driven by the players. So if the players want something, then they get it. That's the whole point of the role-playing game.
And also
that's a good role-playing game.
And you always want to remember that storytelling that's been facilitated in a game, or storytelling in general, is the oldest form of art, right? It's older than music, right? And art will always be expressed in an infinite number of ways.
Yeah, like he considered the form. I personally like it, but may seem to contradict the 4D narrative. Like the 4D narrative, we sometimes talk about being cinematic and stuff like that, and it's because like that doesn't mean like not having like long talking scene. But for me, it depends a lot on the quality of the talking. Like not all talking is equal, right?
Yes.
Doing those shopping scene and stuff like that can be boring. But if you're building up something, if you're like which is character, which is world, or which is like you're making a plan or something like that, something that's contribute to the future. And yes, maybe sometime, because we're making stuff up on the fly, maybe if we were making a movie out of that, maybe some of it would stay on the cutting floor, right?
Yeah.
That's right. But we don't know that beforehand because we're making it up as we go.
I also think that statement is the shopping scene is boring is a very 2D mindset narrative because
Well,
it's
you know,
boring
it's boring, but
in the lesser forms. But if you're
yeah.
actually in the character and you're doing things, looking for something, and actually experiencing it takes a lot of that boring away.
Yeah, the movies have an audience, and role-playing games have players.
Yeah.
They're not.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that's
but is it-
the key difference, I think. But you could
Yeah,
get a
but
lot
you
of stuff out of movies to make your role-playing games better.
Yeah,
But I just
mean-
don't think it's a one-for-one.
yeah.
No, I agree with
It's still storytelling, but it's a different format of storytelling,
Sure.
right? It's like seeing a play and watching a movie are radically different things.
because
Reading
you're
a
not
book and seeing a play are
experiencing it from
radically
the
different
outside,
things.
right? It's storytelling
Yeah.
that you're not.
Yeah.
You're storytelling that you're in. You know,
Yeah,
you're
But
part of
that-
it.
you're part of.
One thing I always got to remember, though, that there is
You're
an
creating
audience. Right? When it's not your turn, you become the audience. Even as a game master, when the
No,
players
I'm still participating.
run
Yeah.
with the game, I mean, you are. Yeah,
You're still
yeah, I
involved
see your
intellectually,
point.
like you're still listening, like, and you're like you're getting in the information that the other player, and you're building up your mental construction of the world and what's
I'm
happening, right?
reacting.
You're still
Yeah.
like active in that sense, and then you're ready for your next turn to contribute, right?
No.
Okay.
So you're still
Yeah,
involved.
I see.
So-
I see that subject. You don't get that subjective dimension outside of an interactive improv.
Yeah, so look at it this way: before you join the
So
panel,
that's
you were before you joined the panel, you were a watcher. When you joined the panel, you were no longer a watcher; you were a panelist.
Oh, I
Yeah.
understand the metaphor.
And-
Although I
and-
did comment before I got on the show, so I mean,
yeah,
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Let's
but now
meet
you're on
at
the show. So
yeah.
Abstract
Right.
Dungeons is done well in Index RPG. Okay.
if you want to use miniatures. If you don't want to use miniatures, and I know you guys are in the same boat. I have a large miniature collection. I don't use it anymore
yeah,
because well, as you know, once you evolve your story past walking from room to room to killing shit, you have to, because there's what, three things. Help me build the list if you like. There's three things that miniatures ruin. And that is horror stories, horror RPGs.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Try to run a chase scene or car scene with miniatures. It's over.
Never
And
works.
aerial combat. The game I'm running is kind of a
You say aerial?
aerial combat. Yeah, like
Yeah,
airplanes. Yeah, it's kind of like a World War II level tech.
I played a lot of
That-
X-wing, and that's
I
kinda
have that
badass.
miniatures game too. Yeah, but I would
Yeah,
never.
but
you
not
I
for a
would-
role playing game.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime I
Try,
bring up,
try playing,
I think
try
also like
playing a role playing game of BattleTech and using planes in BattleTech, but as
Oh.
part of role playing, it breaks as soon as you bring up rules
Aerospace
and
fighters,
multiplayer.
get it correct.
Yes.
Wow.
but for me, like miniatures,
And the
they're
other
also, like,
ones
they-
that turn into BattleTechs that can transform.
I remember,
seen-
if I remember correctly from the lore, the battle's turned by a cute little anime girl that does karaoke.
is
that would
that
be Lin Min May.
Oh, you named the character. Okay, I'm
Oh,
not a real
Robotech.
fan.
Are we
You
talking
know,
about Robotech right now?
That
I
was
thought we were.
Robotech, not BattleTech.
It all blends together for me.
I'll
Yeah.
sing
I
a
never,
song.
I don't know anything about any of it. For me, like
It's
the other
80s
miniature,
Japanese anime.
for me,
Not Robotech.
miniature always like bring you back, like in this third, like out of first person view to third
Yeah.
person view, because you're
Yeah.
always like behind, it's like, so now you're no longer seeing things through the eyes of your character, right? And
What if
in
you
the
were
mind.
playing a BattleTech general and you were like, "Go this way, mech," and then you like move it, like you're commanding him?
you would need to have like
Would that be okay? Would you still be immersed in that situation?
You're
need to have,
playing
like,
the command center, right? You're
Yeah,
in
I'm
HQ,
role playing a
you get
command.
the information from your lieutenants.
I got all the
and you
intel.
have to
I got
react
the
with-
satellite imagery of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
turn the concept of a fog of war into a mechanic. I make it very clear that I'm not going to give you the full piece of information.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if
all about-
someone's on your 6 in aerial combat, especially World War II level combat, and they are doing a spiral chase, or they're fishtailing the tail of their plane to slip into your blind spot, I'm just going to let them know they see the tracer fire coming over them or to their side. They can't even see. They might get a glimpse in their rearview mirror. So I'm not even going to tell them where they're at as they're trying to make their decisions. And just literally, and you do the same thing for a commander on a deck of a ship. Yeah. The only information you're going to get is from the other characters calling out information. You have to simulate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you're really making me want to play a miniature game.
I want to
Not
replay
a role-playing game, of
They
course.
are fun.
But
They're
like
fun.
Victor said, like they should be paced like movie, like a role-playing game. If you're posting it online and want people to watch it, that's a huge reason so many live play are unwatchable. And I just want to say to that we do post our game online, but it's not in the purpose of like having an audience and getting the views, and like it's more like an education. Like it's because we talk a lot about like how we should play the game, what we should do and stuff like that. And at some point, just that we should show it. So it's more like, you know, we can talk a big talk. Here's what it look like when we're doing it. So we try to do it as much as possible as a real game, right? So
yeah,
it's almost the
not gonna be
opposite.
like,
it's weird. It's like
Yeah.
we're showing our game not to show a story, but to show the game.
You know,
But
that's.
I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think you actually do the best of showing stories. Like, well, maybe there are a
Because
few other
40's the
people
best.
that I don't mind, but out of the mainstream game players, you do a better job of showing story than they do.
well, yeah, because we focus more on the story when we play, right?
Exactly.
And this
That's
kind of
the
goes
point.
back to Azimuth's comment about shoe leather. Like 4D is kind of meant to cut all that crap out. Like that's one of the main things it does. So I want to know if when you brought that up, did you have like a recommendation or
No,
were you
I was
just curious
actually
as to
wanting-
what the solution?
I was actually wanting to see what your because I don't want to sit here and come on to
You don't need to
you
worry
guys
about my
circle and
feelings.
do a hard push on a different
No, you're
ideology. I'm actually open to seeing your point of view, and I wanted to
Yeah.
explore that more. I mean, I can throw stuff at you, but
I'm
just
open
to
to seeing your
clarify.
point of view too.
Oh, I agree, and that's what's you guys are very different. Just to take a moment, just like for instance, there's a lot of channels that will blah 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 tell you how to game, and it's very like for a very young target audience, it seems like, but judging by the level of dialogue. And then you got people that try to do live play. There's very few people that do both. And you guys are doing that, which means you're putting your money where your mouth is, or you don't just tell, you show.
Mhm.
Right? Not in storytelling.
Yeah.
But just to clarify something earlier, when I'm referring to shoe leather, I am not referring to the dialogue. Dialogue's good.
Yeah, I know you're referring to that, like there's like a stall in the action because we're doing something and then the GM's trying to like push the monster in, and
It's more
it's like
and it's
a weird
more,
expansion of a small amount of time.
Yeah, and it's slightly unavoidable too, because to clarify, because it's a little subjective, is like I've had one game master that was kind of a 4D player, and I run 4D games for the most part. But at the same time, I don't want to be interrupted. But at the same time, you might do something where you're trying to get them to interrupt you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because you're narrating, like he pulls a blade and he's stalking up on the princess. She doesn't freaking see him, and he's waiting for you to go. I tackle him. You know what I mean?
Murdered Duck Flamingo doing that.
Yeah,
he starts
that
his
was the
evil
game where.
speech dialogue, and I pull my gun, shoot him.
Yeah, but it's the interspace. That's not the right phrase, but it's
like that word, though.
it's the what is it called, interpersonal unspoken communication is the technical term of. This is the opening where you take action, and without. So do you do hand symbols? Do you just turn to somebody?
No,
know,
if they don't catch it,
Body
in enough,
language helps.
if they don't catch it in enough, like I'd say if it goes a full circle of play, and they haven't caught the clear indication that you have someone getting closer to kill the princess, well, I guess the players want the princess dead.
Sometimes
So,
really-
I can say it when it happens to me, and I have that sometimes. I'm thinking about stuff right now, but so I missed the cue that is happening on the table, and then when I miss the cue, I actually feel like, oh damn, I should have done something, and it sticks in my mind. Like
But
next time I will catch the throw, right?
Yeah,
And now I'm sharper for the next scene.
and consequence is what builds tension, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't have tension and interaction without consequence. So if
Yes.
you don't have the players not noticing something, that thing still has to happen because that's a living world.
I think this thing with the wanted to be interrupted is very difficult to do online. And I had the same issue when I was running the Witch of Dunkervale. Because like I wanted to make a time skip and I was like telephographing it and I was like trying to be slow and leave those pause to give a chance to player to interrupt. But apparently when I talk, I do leave a lot of pregnant pause. So so people like are not sure if I'm done talking or not, which is fair, I guess.
That's why I said
interrupt.
That's why I said I would love one of these sort of programs that we're in now that had a function where you could like this person is turned so their box is highlighted,
like a quick time event meter going across the screen.
not even like so when the game master
like a flip of a coin.
That's X. It's like your turn.
Well, when the game master's done talking, he can just like on highlight himself, so the players know I'm actually done now.
Yeah, but
it breaking the flow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when it's online, it's like because at the table it's much easier. Like
exactly
to cut in right online because like talking on each other like it's fucking nightmare. Like and then nobody can hear anything. So we try to be a little more polite. And when you do something like that, when you have attention and like, okay, 40 meter and like 30 meter or maybe feet, whatever. We use feet, right? And
Thank you.
I prefer oolongs.
I
prefer oolongs.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was saying. So when you do that, and especially like we try to stick to round robin kind of order so everybody can get their turn, right? It's important for the GM to like if I'm waiting for like maybe I just took a turn and I don't want to take a turn again, right? So now the GM say 40 feet. Then I'm waiting for the next guy that should take his turn. And then the GM say 30 feet. I say, well, am I gonna jump in again? I just did something, right? So there's that thing as well. I think is a bit of a challenge. I don't know.
So the thing you're describing happens in a few of our games. In the one that Max just mentioned, and in my Wild Hell 1 game, when I killed Doc Flamingo.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
saying something. I say something. I like leave a pause and I say something. Those pauses and those moments when you're actually in the game, I feel like they feel extremely long. So it's like this weird connection that's happening with all the players where you can tell someone is like, there's a break here, or I'm giving you a moment so that you can break in here. I feel like it is more pronounced there, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. The other thing I would say is in Crispy's game of Kill City or Fear City. We're all like hanging out in a car, and this thing is happening again where they're like he's describing the travel of a hostage that we're supposed to be getting or something, and we're like just talking over each other the whole time, and we have I didn't realize. I think I took a piss like in the middle of this, but like I didn't realize that the girl is like already. I didn't even realize the car had left by the time it left. I'm just like, I guess I'm gonna get ready to follow him, and then Crispy goes, "That car's long gone." And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah."
And there's like, and so, but you have to watch out because of what Max said. Because sometimes if you're doing that round, this is why I don't like round robin as much anymore. But when you're doing that round robin, if you only let half the players go and then the GM goes again and it's 10 feet, this guy's like, I'm waiting for my turn. I'm going to do something.
But that's the thing. That's the thing with the round robin. It shouldn't go GM player 1, GM player 2, GM player 3. That's ping pong. It's not round robin, right? It should be like GM player 1, player 2, player 3, GM player 1. You know, because you want everybody to take a turn. And I'm not like married to the idea of round robin.
It's not a skeleton. There's so many. It's not ideal in some situations.
Well, that's what I was getting at with like some sort of thing that highlights, because you don't need the players to go in the same sequence. You just need them to all go.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to act, then you have to kill the princess.
Exactly.
To bring it back to the topic of the stream tonight, how to be a better player, right?
Okay.
How to be better at the table. Well, that's right into it, right? Because we're talking about be active, and another thing, like avoid, like because we touched on a few things in that to solve that issue. One of them is avoid time violation, because if it's your turn, right, and you describe your turn and you do a bunch of stuff that's gonna bring the time forward a lot, right?
Yeah.
Then the GM kind of has to react, but then it kind of robbed the other player of the chance to doing something during this time, right?
Oh, yeah. Allowing the players to dilate time would be fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
unless you initiate a time skip.
Which I do, and it works really well for me. I know you weren't too happy with it with that one time you did it with the
2
game
weeks.
With
the
Wild Health.
But I found it very fruitful. But I'm the type of, I know you guys you made the and again I'm actually genuinely curious, because you don't
have to hedge your bets,
MrMax,
you can just say things.
Yeah, no, well, she's talking about how like no, leave it as a question mark is what I'm getting at. I thought that was kind of odd, because one of the things for the game master is to constantly be manifesting the reality, and I know that it can, in theory, take away the autonomy of the players.
What is
but
that
at the same time, when you're do what?
What's that in reference to? Leave it as a question mark.
It was the game you guys are playing with the orange jumpsuits, and you did time jump, and Crispy got killed.
Doc got slit, the throat slit, right?
Yeah, and it was you guys are in the jungle, and the chieftain killed Crispy's character, and
and then rides off with Rick.
And Max, you were down by the river and kind of crazy up, and you guys tried to build a shack or something, and it was never described, neither by you nor the players. And you mentioned like, well, maybe I should flesh that out for you guys a little bit.
Yep.
And you guys like, no, leave it as a question mark.
Yeah.
It should be some kind of percentage balance back and forth. Basically, both sides are just throwing details, and you just keep piling on the details.
Exactly, like piling on the detail and leaving it. And I think when they become relevant, we don't necessarily we can keep things a bit more less defined until it becomes relevant, and then either the GM or better yet the players can refine the picture based on what you picture, and then the other player kind of aligns. Oh, okay, that's how it is, right? In that game, Wildale, maybe there was wasn't that part of the time skip wasn't we got caught with our pants down basically, and we didn't react properly to it. I think.
Oh, I didn't hear that part of the game. So there's some nastiness going on.
What?
Everyone's penises around.
Yeah, I was making a joke. I was making a joke.
Sorry.
No.
Did you miss the penis scene?
No pants.
Penis scene. Well, for my character, that was the whole fucking game. I don't know if you get that.
Okay. No, I wasn't aware you were Donald Ducking it the whole through.
No, that's part of Phil's. Yeah, that's part of Phil's Patreon content. You gotta pay for that.
I'm not wearing pants now, man.
I did not know you were a script writer.
First thing I did, we're on the present planet. I fucking stripped naked.
Shout out to the under the desk watchers.
Sorry. Isn't that the one time you wouldn't want to be naked?
You got to access
little extra protection.
Phil has 2 cameras right now.
Yeah, I got 2 feeds going right now.
The crotch camera.
One here and one over on OnlyFans.
Bear in mind, again, these aren't criticisms. I'm just trying to use them as anchor points for my. Well, again, I'm not trying to be apologetic. I'm saying I'm not questioning the game. I'm using that as a reference point to the. And obviously, this is pretty an abstract questions. I mean, these are almost academic questions, like sitting around analyzing the game and such. But you guys. Yep. You keep doing that. And I'm like, okay, this is their thing. And I kind of dig it. Because I'll sit in the room by myself and just think about the last session and run my head through it. So I don't normally talk these things out. But
no, we like to go deep in that and stuff like that, and revisit our session and stuff like that, and like we try, and also I think we try not to give the same advice and the same thing that you hear like over and over again on every like RPG channel. So you know,
So
that's why we do the open forum.
in that case,
that's what it's called, like tear off your skin, right? The name means something. It's not just like to be edgy.
Oh, we didn't have a skin reference at the beginning.
I stopped doing that. I ran out of it. Like, and just like, you have a skin fact to share.
I do. Lizards, when they shed their skin, they eat it to maintain.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, it's like they want to regain the calorie. It makes sense, you know. If I can spend calorie growing that skin,
I knew it
wasn't weird to eat your own skin. Okay.
What are you gonna say, Zone Alarm? Sorry, man.
No worries.
Well, it just my only point is wouldn't it be? I realize you're risking breaking the narrative, but wouldn't it be just more efficient to do a quick narrative, like the monster's coming at you in the shadows, you can barely make out its movement. What do you do? Right, and it has this dramatic, even tension that you get at the table that you don't get from other stories unless you're reading a which way book or something, or what, you know, and it says, what do you do? Choose page this, choose page that. But doesn't it's just like, for instance, it's meta talk, right? You're basically breaking 4D. If I say, whoa, man, if you don't roll a 19 or 20, you're dead. Now I realize that breaks the narrative and kind of violates the principles of 4D.
Yeah.
But isn't that one of the enjoyable moments at the table? Because that's where that whole gambling element comes in, and that whole extra tension. And
I think in theory, like, if you do the description, sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say that's a game.
Host.
That's a game moment, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that's fine if you want to play.
Yeah,
if that's what people want, then do it. I mean, who cares?
But
I do think that's already being. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You're skipping my turn all the time. What is this?
No, go ahead.
I thought we are being 4D here.
Go ahead, no, talk.
Go.
So I'm thinking you're already achieving this without asking the players, what do you do? At the corner of your eyes, monsters are charging out of the bushes at you. That's, I mean, maybe, you know, you're describing it in his visual field. They're coming, you know, and basically you don't know what it is, but you know that you should do something or they will reach you. And then it's up to fate what happens, right? So the players get their moment of, what should I do, without asking them directly. And if they don't pick up on it, they you give it a bit of a moment to let them think for a second, but not too long.
Yeah.
And that is part of knowing if my players are engaged at the table and listening to what I'm saying, they will react. Maybe they do a bad reaction, but it will be a reaction. A jump out of the way might be like the first hand. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because I don't know what's happening. I need a moment to see what's happening. So we'll jump out of the way and look at what's happening. Then the GM gets another turn, and then I react to what's actually going around.
Yeah.
Justin, you got something to add before I go?
I will recommend that as the game master, you should remember the description you just gave. Because if you don't, you'll have a guy, two guys over, looking for a light source in a room that you've already described. The only light source is coming through the door.
Yeah.
Because I forgot I said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think exactly, Zonarar, the GM should use description to not break immersion by asking player what do you do, and I agree with that, and that's what Zonarar, I think you're right on the money there, Zonarar.
Yeah.
Z, call you Z. I should say Z. Canadian. Z. I think you're right on the money there, because like that's the whole thing of it. Like build, like I get what you mean by saying like, okay, this has happened. What do? You want to build this tension and like put the urgency in the player. And I get that, but I think ideally you would be able to communicate the urgency without having to say what do you do by your description and stuff like that. And that's a skill you need to develop and stuff like that. And it's part of the game for me, right? It's part of the fun of the thing. And maybe when Crispy say, "Oh, the creature is coming to your is 40 feet away," and then 30 feet away, maybe if he was trying to put urgency in us, and we didn't pick it up,
Oh, you picked it up on it.
we just saw the creature come in and just like kind of waited a bit, right? Just like sometime like maybe it wasn't the best way to describe. Like maybe he should have like put a little more emphasis on the terrifying the creature was. Maybe we just saw it as a monster coming toward us, and we're kind of like high level character.
Like the whole ground is rumbling when it moves. It's triple your size. It looks to be a ton or 2 tons heavy.
Yeah,
I also wanted to blame Chris.
I ain't want to fuck with a 2-ton monster, man. That's a lot of math. And inertia wants to, but it seems like we're just to circle back to the original advent of this dialogue. Remember, it seems like a lot of times the space of like building tension and then pause can often exceed the use of time other than story, go.
Yep.
So your sacrifice, you get a little drag when you choose to, when you don't have a clear signal. And Max, you're absolutely right. At my table, because I know this is sacrilege, but I don't use dice. I use cards. And when I do my narrative, when I put my cards on the table, it is clear that it's your turn to throw narrative back at me. And then when you pick your cards and put them down, I know it's back on my place. And then we narrate the reveal with a head-to-head.
You're using a clear signal. Yeah, and I think a lot of that can be achieved with head motion. Yes.
Sorry, but that's what I was getting at with having some sort of signal, because that'd be like a talking stick. You're basically using your cards as a talking stick, right? So sorry about that, Z.
No, I completely,
definitely.
I perfectly concede your point. Sorry, what are you saying, Z?
No, I'm just doing the motions, right? You do the motions, it's your turn. Or you do the go signal, and all of that can get picked up through a webcam. It depends on if people are watching the cameras or if they're watching their character sheets or reading the rules. Because if they're busy looking at their character sheets and reading the rules, they might not pick up on it. So,
sometimes I'm kind of staring blankly because like I'm just looking inside my own head.
Yeah, imagining it.
Right. Imagining it. So like it's kind of like I'm kind of almost blind in front of me. And also like I like to gesticulate a lot when I talk. Which that's the French part of me, I guess.
Pull on my collar. I used to pull on my tie, but I don't wear those anymore.
Can you kind of? I don't understand the distinction you're making, as far as like. So you're saying it's faster if you say, "What do you do?" Like you're saying that there is.
Yeah, I'm sure you noticed.
Or using the card.
Go ahead. Oh well, that's at the table, but I'm playing online, and my current long-term playtester is in California doing a installation, and I don't live in California, so we have to play online now to keep playtesting. And I realized, there's all these different. I was relying on all these different cues in the physical space, and now I have to right. And I even have a mechanical rule that when you reveal the numbers, you use that as either a prefix to your description or as a punctuation. So it's either I rolled a 12, blah, 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 or I roll a 12, blah, blah, or you give the description, then you say you roll 12. Yes, it has to be one of the two. And they're very different styles of play, by the way.
Almost all the time, it's just not rolling, right?
I think
if you're talking about the whole don't introduce points of failure when they're unneeded, no, I don't do that.
Yeah, no, but I think correct me if I'm wrong. What I understand what you're talking about is like it's almost like, and that's something we talk like the action time goes slower than real time, and interaction time like can go like faster, right? So like at some point you're in a scene that should be very high pace, but just because of the nature of the game and stuff like that, it does feel slower in play, right?
Well, that's inevitable, and in the system I run, fights are shorter than dialogue. You have very very small measure of. You can only basically fail 3 times in a scene, and you're either KO'd or dead.
Yeah, and that's something like I talk about. Like,
go ahead.
No, finish your thought. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I was just to try to clarify. It's not about the, how bullet time is one of the phrases they use.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about bullet time. I'm talking about literally. If I wait for the player, there's like at least a full second or two before they realize I'm done talking.
Mhm.
Especially if they get caught up in the world, right? Because they get caught up in my voice, and they might not be looking directly at me. You know what I mean? And you, without that, I just found some. And by the way, this is different for everybody. You're 100% right. There are certain people that have a natural inkling for 4D play, and they're locked in. I've had this one player that he would sit with his wife and he'd just stare at me. And when it was his turn, he was ready to go, and he needed no cues. He would jump in. He picked up every little hint and subplot I ever did. He would even count my plays, like card counting, which I didn't care. I just assumed his character was just like Sherlock Holmes. Go for it. If you want to spend that energy, go for it. Then another player, she would look up like she was seeing the world in the ceiling or something, and she would look up when she spoke, and she'd look up and talk. That's just how her brain would go into the narrative side, and she needed a cue every single time. Does that make sense?
Like get her down back to the table.
And it just seems like you need a cue even more so in this little virtual space.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't play a lot of live games, so I really couldn't tell you.
A lot of what?
But no, sometimes like, it happens
like in-person games.
Especially like me and Crispy, right? We're fucking big mouth and we talk a lot.
That's true. They talk before their turn.
We talk before their turn. And that's something like we need
during other people's turns too.
we need to pay attention for it, because like we would react to every fucking thing, right? I'm very reactive, like just like, oh, something happened, I got something to say about that, right? And then like other player like miss their turn because of that, right? So like sometimes we do need to bite our tongue a bit and kind of give a chance for somebody else to act, right? Take a turn.
Yeah.
But
and also I'd like to add, like, when we play games, it's often that people just had their job. They were 8 hours away, did a bunch of hard stuff and come at the table, and they might not be mentally like fully into to engage with every little signal you throw at them.
You're talking about the player using a substance like alcohol or weed, right?
Oh, that too. Yeah, that can happen.
Okay.
I mean, stuff like that.
What are you talking about? You talking about heroin? It's just like.
No, I'm drinking a lot. I'm a fucking drunk. So.
Oh, he's poking fun at you. Okay. I had a player that was like that. He would show up and he would be an absolute blast the first hour and a half. But if we ran a long game, like 3 hours or 4 hours, or like when you're a teenager and you played for fucking all night, he was just a fucking waste of space after 2 hours, because he just kept chugging and chugging. And
you lose them at hour 4.
Do what?
You lose them at hour 4. Like at some point, they check out.
To his credit, he decided to play a wizard with Alzheimer's. And so we just assumed that, as he got drunk, his condition just worsened temporarily. Yeah.
Mm.
I think I can still think
play into your faults, not strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played the Nicholas game, and I chose like what was it? I had a speech impediment as a negative trait, and I just wrote down horrible German accent, -3 to tongues. Worked perfectly. People ask me, "What's wrong with your voice?" And I said, "I think it's I think it's a gene defect. I got it from my parents."
Like, should do that as well. Eh?
It enhanced the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were talking about like the. Let's go back to that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Keeping to get a better player, I think like that's one thing, and that align. And I don't know what number we are now. Like I fucking lost count now. Phil, you happy? Now I fucking lost count.
Yeah, I'm much happier now. I think we're on 6.
66
or 5. It doesn't really matter. Like,
not damn you.
Rules.
Yeah. But because we talk in the start about like describing and stuff like that, and I say yes, but be mindful. Like I talk about the turnflation, right? When your turn become longer and longer and longer because you want to add so much flavor and stuff like that. At some point, it's an action scene. Things should move fast, right? And you have also to respect the pacing. Like if the GM add his monster or his characters do something quick. Try to react in the same time to keep the pacing the same, right? If you say like, "Oh, he slashed you with his claw," and then you say, "Oh, I took off my umbrella," and then I do a little twirl, and then then you're not respecting the same pacing, right? You're on different thing, right? So quick action, quick reaction, right? And in the description, it's the same thing. Like I understand when people want to make it like those flourish and stuff like that. They're nice once in a while, but at some point also like try to say something interesting.
Yeah, it should be.
But it's one sentence, right? Keep it short, so keep it moving, right? Because otherwise, you're just like slowing down the pace, and it doesn't add that much, in my opinion. But I know that might be like a more controversial opinion. So
it's kind of like your anchoring kind of does that.
Yes.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I don't know that I. Don't you want to anchor all the time?
You want to anchor? Well, it depends. In an action scene, when the rhythm is supposed to be very fast, maybe you don't need to. An action scene can be useful because like you need to be able to know where the characters are, and anchoring kind of does that. And maybe that's your flavor. Maybe that's like, oh, I'm moving behind those barrels and I take a shot at the guy. Then you know where you are. You are anchored in the world.
I guess that's not really a flourish.
No, it's not a flourish, but you don't need it in that case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in writing, it's called cutting out the purple prose.
Yeah,
the purple prose. I take my rifle and I aim and I fire at the the orc. Versus I take my rifle and the sun gleams off of the polished steel and the orc is like a storm of chaos as I aim upon him. And that's just a bunch of purple.
You talk about writing there.
That's definitely in first person.
What?
And that's definitely in first person.
When the sun,
the way you described that, that's a first person narrative.
Oh yeah. But in writing, like I'm a big fan of Robert Howard, right?
Okay.
Because I feel when you read like those Conan story, the action feel actiony, it feel quick. I like Howard more than like Tolkien because of that. Because Tolkien, there's a lot of descriptions like that. Robert E. Howard, the author of Conan. Yeah, if you never read his short story, they're very worth reading. It's called, but it's very well written because it's very punchy. You're in action scene, it feel actiony.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we should emulate in RPGs.
There's a guy who reads the books called Cybrarian. I don't know if you know who that is, but he like reads those old pulps.
Oh yeah.
So if you ever want to get like an audio, on YouTube.
Oh, that's
cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cybrarian.
Could you link him in MrMax's Discord?
Okay.
Thank you.
I found him.
Yeah. Find him already? There you go.
Yeah.
If you put a link on the private chat, I'll put it on
your chat. Shout this guy out. He's awesome.
I'll slap it on the Discord.
On the Discord?
No.
On yours, yes.
On you? Okay. Not everybody's on my Discord. I'll put it in the. Not everybody's on Discord, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can join
I came to you straight through YouTube.
Yeah. So I put it on the.
Oh right. Oh,
Cybrarian.
Okay. Yeah. I got you.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So I like that's Phil's recommendation. I didn't check it out, but
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Be worth a watch. I'm certainly wanting to watch that.
This is a very elaborate Rickroll, is what I'm engaged in right now.
It was all planned all along. Just waiting for me to mention the award.
Robert E. Howard, here he goes again.
Yeah. I didn't catch
him.
I didn't catch it at first because I've never heard his name said without the E before.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like,
The
who?
yeah. Sorry, it's already a hard name for me to say. Right? There's a H in there.
There are words, with
Yeah, there's
letters.
word. Yeah.
I got a question for you, Justin.
Yeah.
If I may. You referenced that would be in first person. Is that forbidden for a player to speak in first?
No.
No,
In role playing games, it's more desirable for first person, where literally you usually want third limited is the most common in fantasy.
Oh no, I'm in complete agreements. I just thought maybe because I've had some people push back on that where, and again, that's another time loss
question.
where I had one player that would instead of saying I, he would go and his character, he was a Doom Knight and his name of his character was Gloom. This was back when we were teenagers, and he'd always say Gloom, pulls out his mace, Gloom, and if you don't do first person, not only does it come off cheesy and like you're almost like you're expressing yourself through third person, third person referencing yourself as third person. But again, it creates shoe leather. It slows down the game.
Well, most people,
I think it's a GM habit actually. So people that switch between GM and player, because GMs want to use third person typically.
Because they're often not playing. They never play an individual character. I'm sorry, you gonna say something, Justin?
Most people that talk about themselves in third person in real life are usually considered a little deranged.
Yeah.
And you should just have your NPCs start treating that player character as if they're mentally deranged.
Azimuth knows
dialoguing it. But
yeah. No, I'm like I want my player to talk in first person because like that's the whole goal is like I want you to be in that fucking head, right? I want you to slip in that head of the character. Yeah.
100%. And like you said, this is the one. I mean, it's very few formats where you can use first person POV, first person dialogue. And this is the one medium that does that really well. I mean, there's a few attempted novels like The House of Leaves has a point where it's in first person. Ghost story.
Yeah.
Well, you got like a novel, like J.D. Salinger's book is in first person, no? Like with a Catcher in the Rye.
You can do it in first person sometimes. It's just not the normal convention. It's rarely done, perfectly.
I agree, but this is the one format where
it is most likely to be the better method than otherwise.
And it to me it contributes to it's going to contribute to the experience definitely. Yeah.
Did we hit all 7 steps you had planned, Max?
Be active. Avoid turnflation. What else did I miss?
Definitely pitch in for pizza. Otherwise, you're a.
No, I don't do that.
Is that really okay?
No, well, I said start a Taco Bell. Y'all go to Taco Bell, get a bag of tacos each.
Bring cash to the game. Don't be the one that wants to split it on your card.
That's not a good choice.
Nah.
I have goals.
I'm working on a sponsorship here,
for your character. That should be in for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. You're playing a character, but what is his purpose? Right? You should come to the table to be like, I want to have my own wizard tower. That's already something. Whatever you do, if it's aligned with your goal, you will aim towards it. If you don't have a goal, you're aimless. And you just follow along, you're detached to the story, you're detached to the world, and at some point you're like, why am I even playing here? And the other players will feel the same way. Why are you even playing here? And you don't want that.
I got another one like important that I wanted to touch on, unless you want to talk about it a bit more.
Go ahead.
Another point I want to say that's important is understand that this is a cooperative experience. You're not there to be the funniest guy at the table. You're not there to be like the MVP, right? We're all there together to build something together. Players and GM, right? We're not in competition. Don't try to steal the spotlight. Let somebody get a cool idea, build it on that, let them shine, Like support them in there. Don't try to outshine everybody all the time. That's a big point I want to address. That I fucking hate, like player that are. That's what I call like PvP. Like I made a distinction between like character versus character, which I think is fine, and player versus player. If you get upset at me as a person because of something my character did to your character, which wouldn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
That's bad. But there's also another form of player versus player where, oh, I made an in-character joke, maybe, right? That made the table laugh. But it was
That's
fair
okay.
because it was in character and stuff like that. And now you're just there trying to make a funnier joke, right? Then like you introduce this element of competition that has no place on the table and it derails the game. So that would be one point also to be a better player. Understand it's a cooperative experience. We're not there to compete with one another. We're not trying to outshine each other, right?
Yeah. That just seems weird to even think
It needs
about
to be
this.
said.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Like, you shouldn't really even be thinking about what your player is doing. Or
Like that's
It
why
is
I don't like playing with
possible-
Your player
improv
is
people.
probably.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we're all talking at the same
And-
time.
Yeah, and it is possible to play a character who wants to outshine all the other characters on the table in the room because he has deep insecurities, or he just thinks he's that badass. So he always looks for a way to outshine the other guy. And
Such a great
and
concept.
you can
I'm gonna
also
do that next.
yeah.
I'm gonna play that character. It's on Lars distracting right now.
Always trying to outshine everybody else.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a great
exactly.
concept.
And yeah, he can be either a total like slick, suave badass or just a town joke. It can go both ways. Like maybe he is James Bond. He got everything: the looks, the smarts, the physique, and the ladies love him too. Or
Yeah.
it can be like fucking Mr. Bean. He
I
tries
was
to
about
do
to say, like
everything
he's
better.
just like me, but you said the lady loves him too, so that rules me out.
Well, if you had a soul, bro.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's why it's drawing women away. The lack of soul.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what women are attracted to.
Are we going to go into Discord on hypergamy now?
No,
Finally.
no.
We do that here in the open.
Yeah. Sometime I derive.
Uh,
Okay.
you
Do we
know-
have anything to?
Oh,
Those are like open forum, right? And sometimes we derail a bit. We go a bit off topic, but we do those stream, and those stream can be long. Sometimes, like we go like hours longer than they should be. Sometime, right? I could have made this video like, 9 point to be a better player, or 8, or whatever number, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You got a
Could
good
have done
thumbnail
10.
though.
Make a nice listicle, right?
Smart. I'll make that video.
You
Yeah,
should
you
do
should make
that.
that video. That's your role,
And I'll
Phil.
just clip this thing.
People
You take-
love
You take the point that we discuss on those stream, you make them concise,
Easy.
and then we make a video about that.
Makes itself.
Yeah.
people love videos with numbers in the titles.
Yeah.
I love them.
I don't know
Well,
why, but it works.
Remember
Well,
this?
it's because it's a kind of a promise of brevity. You're not gonna that you have a focus. It generates a certain level of confidence in the viewer that you have organized your thoughts and you're not just going to babble on.
Yeah.
Also,
That's the opposite of what we do here.
also, but also a point system helps to anchor each idea and designate the transition from one idea to the next. And that format is very pleasing. That's the reason why it's used in business, PowerPoint, all that stuff.
People love counting.
PowerPoint is a gate to hell.
That's
It's
why
a-
you're accounting.
Okay. All right. Tools are tools.
Hot take.
But it's a heuristic. It's a cognitive shortcut. That's the reason why a lot of people latch onto it.
But that's the thing.
point.
Like I like those stream where you're just hang out. I get a bit drunk. We ramble on. We figure out stuff together. That's
Oh.
what I like to do. That's what I enjoy doing, I guess.
Well, to give you I always maintain is because very much in the 4-dimension gaming solution to the whole grandstanding or a player just is I always put an NPC with the players as part of the party or part of the whatever, because that's my mouthpiece in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me stopping the game and going, oh, there's a town over here, or in this culture, I have the character say that. And the character can also interject with dialogue to another character, like, is this person insane? They just keep going on and on, or something like that. And it creates a mouthpiece in the world.
We had mixed results with that.
Did you?
Yeah, because sometimes like you don't want to have like the GMPC. You don't want like the NPC to be too involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you have like a good player that are in the 4D mindset, you need that less as well, because like the player themselves can make up stuff and contribute to the next step, right? You don't need to have like the GM mouthpiece all the time, because the GM doesn't have like in the pure 4D game, the GM doesn't have to contribute as much. I think that's a big flaw of a lot of the game. Oftentimes the GM talks too much. At some point, like just like let the fucking player talk, right? Let's let the player contribute something. And that's something else we did in the last game that we had. My character got the spirit familiar cat, right? That can talk. And I guess that take role of the GMPC now, but because it's kind of like a silly character and it's not like knowing all of the world, he can interact sometime, but he's not there for the answer, right?
Well, in literary terms, that character would be like Gandalf or something like that. And usually that character shows up at the beginning to give you enough to get started, disappears for a while, and is either dead at the end or shows up just to congratulate you.
Yeah.
Like
I like Garm's takes there. I don't do the GMPC, the mouthpiece, if at all, should be the entire world. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to have one PC always with the party. You have like one guy coming in, saying what he needs to say, providing the information, then he goes do other stuff, and then somebody else come with information if you deliver later on, right?
Well, if you even carry on with my example of Lord of the Rings, that would be like the Ents, then the what was that forest spirit guy that got his own book?
I don't know. I'm a Conan guy, not a Lord of the Ring guy.
Bombadil.
There are other characters that pop in to fill that role. Well, the main
when Gandalf's not there.
Yeah,
Bombadil. Yeah, he's the same species as Gandalf, by the way.
Yeah,
is he?
If he's not God,
Gandalf and Bombadil, they're angels.
I thought Bombadil was unclear what he was. I thought it was never like really specified.
Yeah, he's either one of those or higher. Which would be
the wizards in Lord of the Rings are actually basically like lesser angels. And they've been around since the dawn of time.
Gandalf is scared of the ring, and Bombadil like just disregard it.
Yeah. Well, they're all different aspects too, right? So.
But as far as NPC, they're a supporting character that cycle in and out.
Yeah.
And without a supporting cast, because all the players every player is a lead character, obviously, and no one player character is a supporting character. That would be just unpleasant. And you need supporting characters. I mean, obviously, Robin just really messed with the story of Batman until it actually worked, right? And you're absolutely right. I mean, sometimes you need an NPC to bounce off what the player intends to do. If you find two players that can really jive, you can have Sam and Frodo. But most of the times, Sam would probably be an NPC. Or even Frodo would be the NPC, because they won't be comfortable bouncing off each other like that. But they are with someone who's constantly changing their face to another character.
Yeah, I was going to mention this when Zed said you should have a goal. And it's like, if you can't think of one as a player, know what the other player's goals are and help one of them until you can come up with one for yourself. Because it's better to be a sidekick than aimless.
And sidekick can be a nice role to have in a game, right? Doesn't matter. You don't have to be the main character, the main character all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm kind of
I've talked with I talked with my player about this because he has a lizard folk. His goal is to help the party. That's his goal as the druid that follows stars.
Mhm.
And I talked with him about it. Like, I don't really like it that you have no goal. But he explained it to me. No, he enjoys helping the group. Like, he wanted to play a different character. It's like mid-campaign. I don't want to come up with a whole B plot that you have to worry about. Just let me help out the main adventure. And I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Let's go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Phil, you were about to say something earlier?
Yeah. So the GM NPCs I brought in on Wild Hell, I brought in 2 of them, except for the villains.
Yeah.
And there was one of them that was meant to show that the planet will kill you, so I killed him. And the other one is meant to say, hey, you're this guy and you're this guy. So like setting a premise and then getting lost. But as soon as they're done their job, I kill them off.
Yeah.
Move on. The other thing is about the lizard man thing. He can have a goal. He just doesn't. It's anytime a player has something and they don't bring it up to you, it's like they don't have anything. So
Yeah. That's
Please tell me, player.
Guides him on how to play.
I don't tell. I always make goal with my character. I don't necessarily tell the GM, right? I just like.
I don't want anyone to tell me anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
you
interested.
can also be like, I have a goal, but I don't need a GM to know. I'm just going to act on it in character.
Exactly.
So I will figure it out if.
And then, like, something weird happens. You're like, what? Why are you doing that? Be like, my family was eaten by foxes. Like, oh, weird.
Like, it's important that you have the ability to obtain your goals, whatever they are, as long as they're relevant to the world. But it is not good for the game master to reshape the world for your goals.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Hey, can I push back further on this whole no GM NPCs in the party? Because here's what I've seen that benefited me. And bear in mind, I can see where I've heard horror stories where a game master puts in his favorite character that can do everything. I had a player come to me and he was just sick of the NPC in their party, which is basically the DM's past character that would do everything better every time. And that is a real threat. And what you're dealing with is a narcissist. Get out. Taking away his NPC ain't gonna fix it. You got a narcissist on your hand.
He'll just reskin it.
But I have a phrase why I put NPCs in there, and they're always going to be one. I just rotate them out, and they support the players. Is because I call it the Godzilla effect, right? When you watch those old school Godzilla films, one of the things that kind of portrayed that the city was real. I'm talking about the old ones, right, where the guy in a big rubber suit and he's knocking down fucking buildings. One of the things that made it feel real, at least when I was a kid, was they would cut to these lesser characters in the street and go, oh no, Godzilla. You know what I mean? The NPCs can be those unstoic characters that see what the players do and actually, jaw drop, if you will. Right? I'm like, I remember like one of the key NPCs in my last group game I ran. He was basically completely green going into a combat situation. The game is basically Band of Brothers meets Lord of the Rings. Right? Okay. And the fact that he's never fired his gun outside of boot, and he's got shell shock and such, and they either just ignore him, belittle him, or lift him up, and they have that moment in the group to create a connection with the world that isn't the other players at the table, because there's a certain different hot point narratively when you connect with someone in your party that isn't another player. And there's also a subconscious reminder that if you get attached to that character, they might die because they're squishier than you. Player characters tend to be a little harder to kill unless you are running a meat grinder game.
Yeah.
And without that, you don't get this moment where you, and also like Phil, you said that you started playing online because you kept having your DM take away all your heroic moments. I can't remember your exact words.
Yeah.
Right. And an NPC gives you a chance. Sorry to interrupt, but an NPC gives you a chance to acknowledge that player
I agree. So I don't hate NPCs at all. Actually,
I'm listening. I just have an
lot.
alarm going off. I'll be right back. I'm listening.
Yep.
But it's just like you said. It's important for your NPCs to have a flaw or be like not. There's something wrong with them that makes them not as effective as a player character.
Yes.
So either they're like too lazy, or they're very weak, or they're just not around all the time.
Oh,
one of those things is happening.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like having NPCs and having
Mm-hmm.
GMPC, right? Those are different. And there's a term at some point that came up that I know Crispy really liked, and I like too, which were non-heroic character. The PCs are heroic character.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world are non-heroic character, so they can be around, but they're not the heroes, right? So they are flawed. They are not brave enough. They are not willful enough. They are not whatever quality of heroes. Not enough, right? Just like they'll say.
Well,
the only one that gets to be cooler than a PC is the supervillain.
Yeah,
he gets to be the coolest.
Yeah,
that's the GM's privilege.
Now it is okay for NPCs to have cool moments, but they should not exceed that of the player character. So don't be afraid.
And again, like there's some exception to that if you're trying to build up something like, but general rule of thumb, they shouldn't outshine the PCs.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be absolute cardboard cutouts either.
Yeah, and the fact that you're rotating them out, that's what I do.
Like
you're basically doing it.
There's a book series that I reference a lot. The Empire of Man, right? And there's this one scene, this one section of one of the books where
you get me scared when you talk about book you refer to a lot.
Yeah. Yes. My comfy chair is not this book. Where the main characters hire on as guards to a convoy solely because they're going that way and they want information about that community.
Okay.
So like those NPCs are going to give them the information, and it's because the players sought that information.
Yeah.
Well, if you're using it as a thing in your game instead of the book, but the characters sought that information, right? So they chose to seek out NPCs that would give it to them, and you should never avoid or do your best to not avoid giving the information players are seeking in a logical sense, right? So
I really want to make an NPC that just gives terrible information. I feel like I don't do that,
and that happens.
Yeah,
in good storytelling, that should happen.
But I don't think I do it ever.
Well, that's exactly what I do. I have them just give either advice that's just too safe, or like let's wait and see, or there's just horrible advice. And I had a new player come in, and he realized there was this. They basically had it was a Norse mythology. It was a dungeon crawl, but they had this frost giant with them. Like a 20-foot frost giant, but he was elderly and he had like bad knees and he couldn't fit in like certain areas, so they just had to go without him. This is one of the ways I'd edit him out of the game. But at the same time, it gave them the option to lure something in an area, and he's just a tank, and he would just squish stuff. But the point is he was incredibly old. His knees, he had arthritis in his knees, and he was just kind of grumpy. And they go, well, we'll just go to him. The new player thought he could just hack the system, and that my character would just give bad advice, or even worse, he would say it's time for you to learn as young adventurers, or just go figure it out on your own. And he'd just get drunk. And they were like, what the hell? And they eventually had to warn him out of game talk. He goes, the NPCs will never answer the questions for you. They'll give you bad advice. They will be unavailable. He says it's in the game. I explained it to my new players that these characters, occasionally I will give them good advice, but I'll blend it with bad ones. Like maybe we should do this, but maybe we should just pull the mask off the Phantom of the Opera and just see what happens. And that way they're like,
or you say something like, to beat the orange, you must be the orange.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, or the dwarf
like
that mumbles
stupid,
and like
nonsensical,
metaphors.
like,
Yeah,
reflective phrases.
Yeah. Well,
I
you know, like,
can't get through the door. Use your head.
Sometimes you have to be the door.
the
Yeah.
NPC that gave like kind of bad advice. That's what I kind of did with the in the witch
but-
game with the Zender.
that's true.
Zenders. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But in your case, because of this Ben was kind of a bad guy himself,
I'm manipulating
bad
the
advice
idiot.
worked for him.
Yeah.
So you
You know
just
what?
took it out. Yeah.
Another thing I do in a long-term campaign is I lock their level. Meaning, if you introduce a character, if you're, I won't touch 5e or D&D period with a 10-foot pole. But if, on that format, if you meet a third level character, they stay third level.
Mhm.
They never level up with the players. If you run into a character that's higher level than you, you'll eventually match them and lap them. Because one of the most fantastic aspects of any story, a long-term story in a role-playing game, is this idea of endless growth. People plateau, and you plateau for months to years. Apex, right? Well, apparently not you, Mr. Max. You're just gonna eventually get to the point where your muscles will be so big that you'll flex and your head will pop right off, and you'll be in orbit.
Well,
And it'll be
eventually,
like Unicron, just orbiting the world.
eventually, he
Feeding
will
on
no longer be a
planets.
ginger and grow a soul.
Well,
see-
eventually I'm just gonna be like fucking white-headed, but that's coming soon.
No, see, that hits close to home because I'm a ginger, but it's
Yeah,
gone.
well,
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone.
And-
Go for your
when it
character.
left-
Get a soul.
But
you
let me
got
be
a soul
clear,
now.
you're referencing a drop. Again, that's not an infinite growth. The idea of infinite, where Michael Jordan is not just doing an air fucking dunk. He's jumping up into the ceiling 50 feet in the air and then still doing a dunk. There are limits, unless you're in Dragon Ball Z, universe where you can.
Our economy is based on infinite growth, so
Yeah.
Oh, well,
And don't deny that, or you'll be a bigot.
Let's do just to bounce off that. Can you have infinite growth in a finite system?
no.
No.
I live in Canada, and saying otherwise could get me arrested.
Yeah.
Those Mounties are coming for you, man.
I hear the hooves already.
I hear them all day
So-
long.
So I don't have that fervent hatred for 5e that seems to go around.
You should.
I don't
these
either.
parts.
I don't either. To be honest.
I'm still looking for a better fantasy system.
It's not the
found
system;
it.
it's the morality.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
what-
I would disagree. The reason why I hear you, mind you, I spent years playing it, so
Yeah,
go
go
down
ahead.
that road. Love it. The problem is I hated the fact that we like role play, 5 hours of combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
that's
I'm
a
just
wall
done
choice.
with
The combat is definitely one of the points where I'm thinking as a dungeon master, how do I give my players a battle that is enjoyable and fast and dynamic? But now I'm also calculating challenge ratings and have to take into account the
that-
magic items that throws that whole thing out the window anyways.
Well, you need
Yeah,
to
I
limit
made a
it,
video.
right?
I made a video that called Fixing 5e. You might want to check. If you're looking at
Okay,
that.
I'll check it out, but I
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
won't touch
I proposed a few changes on that because I
Yeah.
think like the core system is not the worst. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Like the addition they made with the expansion and stuff like that make the game worse. Every fucking supplement they release made the game a little bit worse.
Yes,
But the core
it becomes
system
more and
is
more
the
like
core book.
Pathfinder with every new book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
Yeah.
toilet paper around here.
And if you play with some like optional rule, like one I'm a big fan of is like the short rest being 8 hours, the long rest being a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
just implement that, that's an optional rule from the rule book, right? It solves so much issue of the power creep already.
And there's
right?
a lot of really good independent creators using a very highly modified 5e. I can't remember what it's called. It's like In the House or something house. It's where the entire game is played inside a 2-story house and you play fairy folk. Right? It's like Spiderwick Chronicles or something like that, and they just really shaved the game down quite a bit. But it's just the hit point swell and the fact that it would take you hours to complete a fight.
Yeah, but why I brought up 5e is mostly because I like the notion of experience is what levels you up, and to me that means you have to go out into the world and experience it. If you don't experience danger and overcome it, there is nothing. You're not learning from the world, and you're not leveling up. So unless you go out there on adventure, you solve quests, like something interesting happens that changes your character or changes the world, then you level. Then I will give you the level up as the party, as the people involved. And if you don't, then we can keep playing, but there will be no experiences as a reward. If you actually avoid
But
what is happening in the world to do your own little side thingy.
And I know most of the guys here don't like the Morkborg system, but I do like.
Never
like
played it.
I like the way they
I don't know it.
Okay, I recommend it. The book's very cheap. You only need one. It's like 80 pages. You can get it for free off their website. The whole rule system without the art,
which is a bonus in that case.
Yes, unless you like yellow. I love yellow. But when you level up in that, it's specific. Like you don't level up like the level. You may get a bonus to one of your stats at the end of like an arc. Yeah, I got that book sitting right over there. It's right next to it's right next to a human skull.
Oh, that art's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. But like if you get
geez.
yeah. Do I have to
I've been
pull my
outdone.
Oh,
happening.
We're showing off.
Not the armpits. Tearing off my face.
Let's play a game right now.
Let's do it.
All right.
This game doesn't- it
I'm a
doesn't last
desert
very long.
goblin. I'm a
You
desert
know-
goblin.
You know what's interesting about this?
I'm a
Oh,
snail.
You're
There's a group that likes one shots. This is the ultimate one shot.
Yeah.
The fact that if you read the book, if you follow this book to the letter, you can only play it once. Because when the world comes to an end, it says in here you're supposed to burn this book.
Yeah.
I would.
I won't do that. I'll go piss though. Talk among
Obviously,
yourself.
you guys are all
Yeah.
cheaters then.
You should
I'm
buy a
okay
second
about-
book so you
I'm-
can burn the first one.
I'm okay about breaking that rule. I'll download the digital copy and delete it.
I'm not saying we do it, but I just want to throw it out there. You know, if we all left the fucking right before Max comes back, it would be kind of funny. Probably not worth the giggles, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Let's see.
This PDF for Mithras is only $11,
Yes.
but I'd get the hardcore. So this is basic role playing.
It's a rules light,
Hearing about
quick
it.
and dirty game. The fact that you can roll up the names of your characters and it says, sure, you can name your character if you want. It won't save them. They're going to die. Is
in Morkborg? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tongue in
Oh,
cheek.
Morkborg. I'm talking about
yeah.
Mithras.
Mithras?
Oh no, I don't. I'm not too familiar with Mithras. But I'm just There's mind you, I played. I'm Thaco,
It's got
right?
the,
I played advanced D&D.
Yeah. Oh, we lost.
Dang.
Did Z take me seriously
He did the joke.
when I said we're gonna just all dump him? I was okay.
We can't let him back in if he did. So he has to.
I
wait.
know this is Max's channel, so I guess he jumped
Yeah.
off. Oh, here he is. Z's back.
Oh, there we go.
Move me. I was over there.
I tried to do something. It didn't work.
Okay.
Look at it.
But like I was saying, the level, like when you gain something, right? It's at the end. Like if you play more than one session, it's like at the end of a story or whatever, like a dungeon or a quest or whatever. But you might also lose something, right? Like you can get injured and lose as well as much as you can gain. And it's specific to what you're doing, not like Hey, you gained a level. Put 3 points there, 4 points there. Roll for how many more hit points you got.
Yeah.
You know, like, I hate that. Like, if you never used a bow, why are you getting agility or whatever, right? You know, or like that's an example I'm using offhand, but you know.
Because you're really good at jumping around.
Yeah, well, like say you never did any of that stuff. Why are you getting a boost in that?
Oh, I see.
Where this is that section of this is designed if you're doing it the way they suggest you do it, because it's left kind of subjective in the book, but the best way you do that is by only giving the increase on the sections that the players did the most in during that area, unless they got injured and they lose in something, right? So.
Maybe your players should roleplay their character better.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, you only get better at the stuff you're role playing in.
Yeah. Now we're forcing it in the system.
You know who really
like you get better at running the more you run, right? That's
how bastards sort of work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's how that's supposed to work.
It shouldn't come as a surprise, but one of the people who really did a very experimental dive into immersion was Gary Gygax. You'll stop me if you already know this. At one point in time, Gary Gygax was running.
I've heard of him.
Do what?
I've heard of him.
No, the whole house. Okay, I bought it.
The name rings a bell.
No, he would.
Who's this guy?
He had a filing cabinet by his desk, and he would open up the filing cabinet so the players couldn't even see him. And he'd put like a sheet, or he'd talk to a sheet, and one person, and he would just call out events that would occur, and someone had to designate to always be listening for events in the world, because he would even announce an event is about to occur, and they would have to, and it was very much kind of like diplomacy, where there's a lot of dialogue and back and forth. And this is all back in the day where the dungeon master rolled all the dice. Players didn't get dice because dice were much more
they were much more on the gamey side of thing, but it was like back in the days, everything was experimental, right? Where they were figuring out stuff as they went. Where's my okay? I was a little blurry.
I was wondering if you were doing the Gary Gygax thing.
Yeah, I was like going.
I can go behind my curtain. See you.
Oh,
thank you. Is an event about to occur?
It's still throw work.
Yeah, it's called home time.
I roll for perception.
You see darkness.
You
I want to talk
leave
about you were mentioning like a little bit earlier. You were talking about like GMPCs or NPCs in the party and stuff like that. And I want to talk to you about something, Amusement, and that as well. I'm really curious about knowing your opinion about that.
Okay.
And other guys, if you want to chime in, like, well, you can do it as well.
No.
But in our game, we often in our games, we often 4D NPCs. Like sometime we just like start talking to somebody that hasn't been described to be there, but it would make sense that it would be there, right?
Yeah.
Phil did in the last game, talking to his wife, or was it?
No, Crispy brought her around. It was.
Oh, you made her pregnant.
I did make her buy 4D to fetus. And,
you
her
the fetus.
Big 4D the fetus died.
I co-created that fetus.
So,
if you will.
So through pure narrative and no dice roll, you impregnated a character. Okay, I'm following.
That's how I explain it to my daughter as well. No, I did 4D and NPC. But usually I only do it if there's a lot of people around. Yeah. So a lot of if the world is described, or if the GM describes a world where there's people around, I will name one of them.
Yep.
Like if I'm supposed to know these guys, then you're named this because you probably haven't named 12 people. And I'm doing it for you.
And that's something we did a lot in the like with Shauner there is there in chat now. Hello Shauner, by the way. And that's something we did a lot in the 4-hour Traveler game session. And Rick at some point was kind of like, "Man, you keep fucking making up people."
But it's like we went out into a dock.
There would be like full of people around.
Yeah, we went out to a dock, and I'm gonna go talk to a dock person.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go talk to the chief that's in charge of all the dock people.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah,
the
actually-
security station, I'm gonna talk to my agent, my officer, right, and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
These people should be there.
Yeah, I actually award XP for doing that. If the players actually do
Oh.
that, they play their connections. That's one of the ways. So I award XP for expanding
Mhm.
the character in your individual story and the people adjacent to you.
Mhm.
You know, but yeah,
That's
it's an
what I do when I
NPC
do
summoner.
it.
Yeah,
That's what
and
I
I've
do.
got no problem with that. Yeah,
Feels
quite the
very
opposite.
well to the 4D
I
thing,
award
like,
because remember, you can always, if they get in the way of the story, just kill them. NPCs can
Well-
come and go by sheer story, but more
Wouldn't
the
that be
only
cool if,
rule
like,
They don't have to like literally die. They can
or
just,
just
like,
go away.
walk
It depends on
away.
the story,
but,
but
you know,
yeah.
I'm just
They run
clarifying that
away,
because there are
they
dense people on
cower.
YouTube. Okay.
how cool would it
Or
be if
they're
Rick just like
indecisive and
kills
cannot make
everyone
up
I
their
name?
mind.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joseph, are you? A big beam fall the ceiling and Joseph is crushed. Oh,
Yeah. Or better yet,
What else you would talk to?
Python, the foot of God comes down and just
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is everybody I talk to dying? The quest.
the only rule I create is
You're haunted.
you should avoid using the same names you've used before, and I really prefer they use a different first letter of the name. I cannot have every female character starting out with A. You know, it's a Laura, it's a, you know, April, it's a, you know, whatever. You just
I should use A's.
alternate through the fucking the alphabet so that everyone it's Bob, Billy, Buford, you know.
My go-to
Billy Bob.
lady letter is J.
yeah.
He's J too.
No,
much.
it was B. It's B. It's Becky. It's Beth. It's you go with B. a
Oh
lot,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I use B too.
I used to have alphabetical dice, and I would literally just hand it to the players. And sometimes you can do too is to literally hand I don't want to say a throwaway NPC, but just a very low level supporting character. I hand it to another player, and then they have to invent them.
Yeah.
Or
I tried to do that.
Or they both invent them and they just keep bouncing off each other. Like this girl at the bar, and then Phil impregnates her and says, "Well, I noticed that you're pregnant." And then she, you know, whoever's playing that has to bounce back with how they got pregnant, and then be like, "Oh, it was you with your mind powers." You know, so
Yeah, the
I saw you-
reply is yes.
I-
Oh
I'll-
shit, guys! I'm pregnant. That's right.
Shauna, I put the link in the chat if you want to join us. Like we were talking earlier about now we kind of like out of the topic, but we're talking about becoming a better player. And I know you kind of wrote a book about it. So if you want to come and jump in and talk,
I've
you're
read
welcome.
it twice.
You read it twice? I didn't read the new version, I got to admit. I still need to get to it.
I wonder what's new
Wow.
about it.
Look,
I wish
Max, I've read the
China
book.
would
You
tell
can read it too.
He
Well, I
read
know I
it
can read it.
once.
I just didn't you know I know I can read it. Do I need to read it?
Sure you can.
I will read it
I
at some point.
question that.
Like I talked to Shauna, right? And just like I can go to the
Yes.
source.
maybe
No,
you
but
can help
he-
them
that helps.
translate it to French.
I believe
Yeah,
but
Shauna-
that-
Is there a
Shauna
French
wrote
version?
the book. Shauna wrote the book to not talk about it.
I was just
Yeah,
about
exactly.
to say that. I was going to say, I believe his answer to that question is, I wrote a book.
I wrote a book about it. Yeah, I don't mark. Zed, you like I saw that you made a video with Sean. You make a long video and stuff like that, and you talk about you're trying this 4D method with some of your player. You want to tell us about it
Yeah.
a bit?
Yes. Well, I've talked with my
Before
peers
you get
about
started, I gotta go. Thanks.
Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. I don't want to interrupt. And
I
No
don't
worries.
like you.
All
Y'all
right.
have a good
Well,
evening.
Party on,
Thank
Phil.
you,
You
Phil,
too, Phil.
for
Thank you,
joining
Phil.
us tonight. And
Take
have a
care.
good
It's good
evening.
talking to all you guys.
And we'll see each other on Monday, I guess. Eh?
I don't know. Are we doing anything? We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna do part 2 of that game. No,
I don't know.
you don't know? I hope so. I
I
want
hope so
to.
too. All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take
Party
care.
on, party on.
I hope so too. I want to watch it.
I have no
Yeah.
say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Z. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I'm playing in a group circle, and for us, it's a social event to role play,
Yeah.
to do role playing games together. So almost all of us have GM before. We have a couple of veteran role GMs that have done it for more than a decade, that have done it for Paizo, that have done it like for those Adventure League games too. So lots of knowledge and experience in our group, but still there's always this desire to actually play better, to learn more, like we homebrew stuff here and there. So I brought the idea to the players I hoped would be most open to change, because when you play with the same group for years, you come into a rut. It could be a groove, but it can be a rut to like, oh, we've played it the same way every time. We play a new system, but we don't change how we behave. And I'm like, I've learned so many role-playing systems, but when do we learn to role-play? And that's what I'm trying to improve.
Yeah, that's something I used to talk about on this channel. Because people sometimes would criticize me and stuff like that. Oh, that just doesn't. I don't need that and stuff like that. And I say, well, my channel is for people like maybe you've been playing the game for a long time and you don't get the same kick out of it anymore, and you want to try something more. Try those things. If you're happy with the way your game are, like, why are you fucking listening to me, right? Just like do what you do, right? Just if you still work for you. But at some point, maybe you're gonna reach a point where you say, like, you know what? We're doing this every week and I don't feel it anymore. Well, maybe try to be a little more immersed, a little more in character, a little more, those are the people I'm trying to reach out and like use it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so exactly. So
how did you try to sell the idea to your player?
How I sold it?
Yeah, how did you try to sell it?
Well, I divide and conquer. I get the players who are most interested first and talk to them in private. And I'm like, this is what I would like to do. I want to role play more. I don't care about how many experience points I get or if I get the coolest gun or the best cyberware. I want to tell a story. And if we meet up the next time, the story should stick around and it should affect our characters. That's what I want to achieve. And and then we go from there, like what is 4D, the link to MrMax's video, the link to 28mm video, the link to Shauner's book, How to Roleplay the Hard Way, as the fundamentals of we stay character. I don't tell you what you do, you tell me what you do. I don't tell you what you see, I show you what's in the world where you're looking at. Right? And we paint this mindscape, and when you do something that is interesting or dangerous or has tension, then we roll dice. And
I think for me, like, the best selling point is always like, I want to be more in character. I want to feel what this character feel. I want to feel what it is to be in that situation, right? I don't want to be just playing a game. I want to be there, right?
Yes.
Well,
I think
the good thing about doing that is your players develop tension from their actions and not random stupid traps.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. My game evolved tenfold when many years ago, when I realized random encounters just need to be thrown out.
Yeah.
Your game is broken when one player is worried about an electrified door handle.
This is the second time you brought this up, so you've been burnt.
No.
By a door handle?
I've entered enough buildings and have never come across one fucking electrified door handle in real life.
This up before, which tells me you've been in a game where a dungeon master game master did that to you.
No, a player was always like trying to touch every door handle, like, oh, maybe there's current in it. Maybe
I've just heard enough. I've heard enough complaints about it, and the fact that I'm in a line of work where I've come across a lot of secure doors, and none of them have had electricity going through the fucking door handle.
Maybe they should have.
Yes.
Maybe they should have.
Then you would have fucking got in. Right?
When your player wants to open 100 doors in a 2-hour session, one of these doors should show something that is awesome.
And as we know, RPG all about opening door. And getting
or you get rid of the doors and you just, I know this is not what you guys agree with, or you just get rid of the whole door concept and you move the characters into the action. I know you want to say never move the characters, never say, but but it really cuts down on the whole, like, I wake up, I go down to the I go down to the end. I eventually get to the. You can just literally edit all that out and put them right in a room in the dungeon in an abstract encounter.
But
That
also, like,
part
I think
is
if you... Go ahead, Zed.
that
Sorry.
part is of the intent of the actions. My goal is not to open the door. My goal is to visit the doctor in the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't need to describe me opening 5 different doors until I found where the doctor is. I might describe I go through the entrance doors and approach the receptionist. Where can I find a doctor? I need some medical attention.
Yeah.
And
I think
boom, and then we
Follow the green
go
line.
there.
I think at some point you figure out the right pace, right? And if you're just like in a what I call like sometimes like transition scene or like interaction scene, you don't have to say like, well, I get off the bed and then you wait for the next turn. I put on my shoes. Yeah, you can just say like, I get up and I move out of
that's
the
the
house,
part
right? And
that
just, like,
slows down the game for sure.
exactly. You move
Like-
all that thing away, right? If somebody else wants to do like in the same time something more specific, then they can have a few turns and do the specific turn. And then when the time catch up to you, they come back to you, right? But you can just do like, I want to go to the doctor. Like, you don't have to do like, well, I get in my car, I turn the key, next turn, I drive until the stop, next turn, I drive to the red light, next turn. At some point you just say like, I drive to the fucking doctor.
Well, mind you, I'm exaggerating for effect, but at the same time, that's why I don't do a continuous flow. I literally just I have scenes, and the scenes are designed towards a certain encounter, a certain event, and you just cut right to the chase.
Yeah,
Right.
but what I'm saying is like, with good player, which whom you're on the same page as, they'll cut to the chase themselves. You don't need to move them, right? That's the goal. That's the point. Yeah, and
I've
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm trying to think of the thing first.
I've
I've had the moment of when I was playing with Nicholas. We've tried his system out. That is all about diving deep underwater in submarines, and we've had this moment of he expects. I've role played with the security officer that was his NPC. I'm telling my story about the dangers that's going on. I want him to look into it because I'm just a mechanic. I can't. If I talk, I will get hunted down. So and he said, yeah, that's it's really bad. I look into it, and then he took
that's
like
gonna make people notice you. Sorry, so is that?
Yeah.
You get in the room without skin, people fucking notice you.
For sure. And Nicholas took like 3 to 4 turns to have his character like, yes, I'll do this, to go to the exit, to leave the room. And by the third one, I just went like, I'm good. My character's no longer responding. He's worried. He wants this to be addressed. He's not leaving the room. Like because that's the end of the scene. I don't need to describe my character leaving the place too. So I just gave the thumbs up, like, you're good to go. Move to the next thing.
Yeah, that's where like anchoring with Commandy as well. You can just like show a little line that set you in the world. I'm still existing here, but not doing anything meaningful. Move on to the next guy.
Yes, lean against the wall with a weird look on my face.
Yeah, I'm scratching my balls, whatever. I just think no.
Yeah, when you start scratching your balls, you have to cut the scene, right? That's what the DM like. Oh, I have to go now. Next, I start taking my pants off.
All right,
and
next
I will
guy.
Continue.
Just put all your characters to start every game where they're on the toilet.
Yeah. Well, I will go to the toilet, and if you don't cut, I will show you what happens.
You notice there's never a privy or a toilet in a dungeon map.
It's all right. You're on the toilet last turn. Now it's your turn again. What you do? I'm still
you thought that's a trap? No, that's the toilet.
Little ball of cotton in my hand.
You want to talk about the worst mimic?
I didn't realize that.
No.
No, I didn't realize that leaf was poison ivy. My ass itches.
Yeah.
Right. The bad breath on a toilet mimic.
To wrap that stream. We are 3 hours in. That's a good time to wrap in. I'm quite a few beers in, so that's how those thing goes, right? Anything else you guys want to add? I want to thank you also for joining me here on the panel,
It
and
was great.
yeah, and I'm glad to see you guys, like especially like Zed now that we're seeing you get into this world and sharing your experiences like that, and like you agreed also like it is like a learned skill, right? It is not easy when you jump into it, right? To get out those old habits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're doing well.
Oh, sure. I let other people decide that. I'm just trying to write down notes what I'm actually trying to fix and improve. Because if I don't write them down, I will change my mind every week.
Yeah, but we're always glad to see people like trying to say like, I'll try that, or you know what, maybe I can do better, right? And no matter what your view of what better is, trying to do better is good. Trying to better yourself in a thing that you spend a lot of time in, right? You invest a lot of time playing those games.
Yeah,
try to be good at it. Doesn't like we have our view of what good is. If your view of different, that's fine as well. But like, yeah, try to better yourself in what you spend like fucking hours a week doing.
Yeah. To role play with my group, it takes 7 hours. 3 hours is getting there and getting home.
Yeah.
And 4 hours is playing. And the first hour is we actually talking with each other because we haven't met in 2 weeks. So, and it will be 8 hours so that we actually get a 4-hour session into the game. And that includes ordering pizza. So that is also time cut. So if we can actually get time blocks where say, these 2 hours we will role play, then the pizza will arrive and we will eat it for the halftime break. Then we will role play again. We can get a lot more game done.
You can get more of the experience. And I see like also role-playing game is a great hobby that can do something that no other hobby can do. Lean into that thing, right? That's what I would always say.
Yeah.
Which is the role-playing, in case that wasn't clear.
You can also, I hate to do this, but you can also build like emotional tools through experiencing viewpoints other than your own, right? Like it can be therapeutic.
Yeah.
In the old school method, not the new school method.
Yeah, no, I agree.
How do you mean?
It develop your empathy in a sense because it train you to see things from a different point of view, right? Because
I was mentioning earlier, confidence is another thing you can develop through it, and reasoning, thinking skills can be developed through it.
Yeah.
In the developed immersive sense. In the new sense that it's just like a blanket you can put on to hide your emotions. That doesn't help anything.
No, that doesn't. That doesn't reinforce you in your issues instead of working through your issues, which is the opposite of what you should do. But
I'm doing the thing in my in one of our Shadowrun games. Basically, we play Shadowrun games. You have a group of characters, and when we arrive at the table, we choose which one we play. And I have one that breaks all of MrMax's rule. I play a very attractive elf dryad.
what's wrong with you, man?
Yes, female dryad in Shadowrun.
You're supposed to bend that character over a table, not play.
No, she because she knows magic, so she's very useful as a Shadowrunner. But I'm really trying to bring out the feminine side with her specifically. What does it actually mean to play a character that is very emotional, very personal, very friendly? And people love her because she has maximum charisma and is a smooth talker and looks like a fairy. And how can I embody that as a 300 pounds man? Because that is difficult. But it is fun because it's role playing. I'm just putting myself in her shoes. I'm thinking about it, and play with that idea and play with the other players on the table. And maybe you have a group like MrMax that says, no, you're not playing a hot girl on my table. You're ruining
You see,
my
the
immersion.
problem I have with male playing female is oftentimes like playing a female is just like a throwaway thing. There's no thought being
Mhm.
put into the fact that they're female, right? There's no like male and
Yes.
I do believe that men and women are different on a very deep level, and you shouldn't just play like don't play like a fucking man with tits, right? Just like
I play a female, so I can fondle myself. Like, oh God, please,
exactly.
why? And that's weird.
I think if you like, I say like I don't like it, and I don't allow like I have a video that one of my most viewed video. I don't allow men to play female character. It's not like a very hard rules. Like sometime I will, but with player I trust and I know that okay, you're trying to do something. There's a reason for it, right? But in general, I think it doesn't add much to role play. I think in general, like often, most of the time, it's just like people like trying to use being a female as a subsidy for having a character, right? I don't need to think more about who my character is because she is a chick, right? Basically.
Yes. The same reason like playing a tiefling to be their character instead of developing a character.
Exactly. Just playing a weird race instead of putting some depth in your character. And that's why I'm also a big advocate of a Pendragon. I say where everybody play like a male human knight. Because everybody's basically the same thing, then you have to look somewhere else to make your character distinct, and that's where the
absolutely,
yeah. But like I find people often get distracted by those things. Oh, I'm playing a tabaxi that is like or a dragonborn, but is a thief, and that's unusual somehow. So that make me a deep role player. No, you're just like fucking doing a gimmick. There's no.
You're checking some boxes without actually developing a person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, it's helped some people with if they play like I don't know a dwarf or a goblin or whatever or dragonborn. You're absolutely right. It's a caricature, but it's such an extreme caricature. A lot of times, it gives some people an imaginary a foothold in the concept, because if you try to play let's say like if you play just a human, but you pretend he's a dragon or you think it's dragon, it's a little hard for experienced role players. You're absolutely right, but a new experience, sometimes it just helps to play something that is a bizarre caricature. But one way to fix that, by the way, is to constantly remind them through the story that they are whatever dragonborn, drow, whatever. And I constantly
in modern game nowadays.
The world recognizes you and will react.
Like that's the problem with the modern play as well. Like people want to play fucking tiefling, but the world should be indifferent of the fact that they're tiefling, right? Because like otherwise, like it's racism, and oh you're hurting me. Like, oh no, I'm gonna die of racism. Like shut the fuck up.
It should be part of the lore. Like where are you playing your tiefling? Is this like a place that a whole town has gotten subjugated by Asmodeus, and therefore half of the people turned devilkin, and now it's like a constant reminder of what happened 200 years ago in this area. You're like a walking symbol of past misgivings, and stuff like that gets so easily thrown away. I just want to have these cool horns and the tail
matter.
and.
Well, I think that's why it's important that you especially if you're a new player, that the party all be from the same area and not like, to use another literary reference. To use another literary reference, Lord of the Rings again. The only player characters in that story are Merry, Pippin, Samwise, and Frodo. Everybody else is an NPC.
Yeah.
Those four characters are the actual players of the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
everyone else. Boromir wasn't a player that got killed?
No. No. Because he had.
I think it was the annoying player that didn't show up. I think that's who Boromir was. Sorry, I'm derailing you. Could continue.
Yeah, I think that fucking bothers me is like when you have like people like say like wow, I'm a human every day of my life. I don't want to play a human in a role playing game. I want to play something else. And like people like say that. I say like, man,
And then they just play
you don't fucking
themselves.
get it, right? If you don't see enough like variety in the human experience, if you don't see enough things that are different than you by playing a human, you don't fucking get it, right?
Yeah.
The human experience is so vast, it's so like diverse and stuff like that. Yeah, you can play human,
But
and you can play somebody that's totally not you,
yes,
and you should do it.
This is important, but the point I was getting to is they didn't have a bag of specialized skills.
Yeah.
That were tailored to
the adventure,
to be badasses.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, they pick those races so they can be badasses.
Yeah.
Right? Where like Gimli and
Nerdman.
all
yeah,
them.
Nerdman play Alphabet as Nerdman. Basically, they play themselves, whatever they play.
Elf Rabbit. Okay, that's a new one.
I'm playing myself, but I'm
point.
sticking ears. I'm sticking rabbit ears on my head.
Yeah, if you choose a race just to game the system, that's even worse than just playing a character. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like in the game, because I know I'm breaking most of your rules with the game I'm writing, and it is what it is. But there's a lot of different playable races. But the playable races don't.
No, you can have them. It's just most people don't actually play them.
Well, none of them are elf rabbits. Just get that out.
Well,
and none of them are billards or ballards or ducks.
There's nothing wrong with the duck.
Mallard.
It's if
Mallard,
you're,
thank you.
Yeah, if your players aren't immersing themselves into the differences of that character.
Yeah, but you're rolling the dice that someone's gonna Donald Duck it at the table.
Yeah.
I made a video about I made a video called How to Play an Elf.
Yeah.
And I do talk a little bit more about what, sorry?
I just said I hadn't seen it. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. I talk about like a little more than just like playing an elf per se. Like I'm talking about like if you want to play like one of those non-human race, you have to think about like what make them different and how it would impact who they are, right? You're fucking species that live like thousands of years. That's gonna fucking change your view of the world quite a bit.
Well,
it should inform your role play. Like, if you do not bring the history of your race to the table, then why are you playing the race? If you want pointy ears, like maybe you pick a half elf instead. You're human enough. Like it plays a little role, but there's no big difference. You can get your pointy ears. That's fine.
But at the same, that should introduce different struggles to your character once again with the racism, right? Like,
my what is showing?
Your pussy is showing.
Oh yeah, well yeah, he wants some attention. Is it some cat? There's nothing weird.
I got Justin on that one, I think, just a little bit. Sorry, you were saying something? I just thought it was funny because his cat's going back and forth. But go ahead.
Yeah. Like once again, if you're playing the cross-raced character.
Yeah.
Right. That introduces different challenges that if you're not also encountering in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. If it does, oftentimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. Like you are putting character development on the table, and then brushing the table off onto the floor for laziness. Like
so, I'd like to push back a little bit because I think. You don't have. It doesn't have to be a divisive moment, playing a different race. It can also be like, yes, you're a half elf because elves and humans have an alliance for thousands of years, or the last 1,000 years. So it makes sense that they have mingled and building civilizations together. But then that has informed the game world you're playing in. Now that is. That part of the world building that you're playing in.
Yeah, Garmin's right there as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are going to be people that like that and dislike that in the world because just there are people.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it depends on the low fantasy versus high fantasy. You know, I'm running
and the focus of the game.
Yeah, it would have screwed up going into Barbarian if Thulsa Doom was an elf. Right, or a dwarf. It would be like this is just too far, because it's very like But I mean, hell, that's kind of reason why I didn't like the second one. Obviously, it's a little bit sillier, but the wizard turned into like some kind of orc. But the god at the end was awesome. Tearing out the fucking horn and shit, and it depends on the style of the game.
And for me, also there's also like a problem with very similar to the world as well. Now we're going on a fucking different topic, but we know
You
from the
brought me on the
world,
show,
right?
man.
At
Humans,
least it isn't a 6-hour chat.
we have like fucking we struggle getting along for like when we have like meaningless difference, right? There's very little difference,
Yeah.
and then fucking hate each other. We live next to each other, but like we have this one belief about one detail of one something, and then like we fucking hate each other for generation.
Yeah,
Now you're telling me like you have like people that are completely different like life cycle, completely different like lifespans like that, and we're just gonna live in peace. Like that world would be fucking war all the time. It'd be fucking awful. But yeah, I don't know, and just like maybe they're better enough in some way, but it needs to be explained, need to be addressed for me, right? Otherwise,
at the same time,
they need to be addressed for sure.
But at the same time, you're addressing the issue, meaning, humans are more likely to attack other humans because they thatch their roof the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right. And elves are more likely to kill the wood elves because the mountain elves are like, fuck you. I mean, it happens in our culture now. It's the reason why
they're hard-boiled egg from the big end into the small end.
Yeah, and the majority of
that's a deep reference.
Conflict. Inner conflict and like even theft. Like in impoverished areas, they don't steal from the rich. They often just steal from within their own neighborhood. They steal from the poor, even though they know they're poor. And not you don't then you go into race, and all that kind of crazy stuff. We do tend to just like the Protestant and Catholics in Ireland just tearing each other apart.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay.
We should justify, but that's a different topic.
Yeah.
I'm very.
You see my point, but I do races, but I don't award different ability or different stats because of races. But I do have it in there that there is it's referenced as a cultural divergent. I mean, it's divergent from our culture, and you have to follow that divergence in culture. And so you're kind of stuck with that, and you have to. So you choose that path, and also my magic system is based on elements. And each different species has an access to an element, and only humans have access to all elements. And because of that, the other races either employ humans or they think they're pests because they're the only ones that can access their kind of magic.
You see,
like there's some kind of spiritual vampires, if you will.
That's speciesism, bro.
Yeah. And we don't tolerate speciesist stuff.
Yeah, well,
I'm kidding. I know, that's why I'm saying that.
It's more like Avatar: Last Airbender kind of thing.
Yeah.
But instead of like the Fire Nation is more humans doing fire, it's an actual fire species. But yeah.
Sometimes I make those like big statements, like I say, like, oh, keep your world mundane and stuff like that. Like, don't like. I make those big statements. They're like general rule of thumb. They're not like hard rules. You can deviate from them, but if you want to do it, there need to be a reason for it. For me, it's always like think about what does it add to the role play, what does it add to the immersion, what does it add to the game. Like if you want to explore that, make it a theme of your game, and then that's cool, right? That's fair. But let's just don't
make
do it
sure that make sure your players are on board. If your players just want to play different races because it's goofy or they get a stat bonus, like talk to them what you like. That's part of the session 0. That's part of the social contract. I want to play in this world. I don't want to play D&D to gain experience points or do the one-shot adventure that you've prepared. I want to play in the world, and I want you to be part of the world. So if you ignore the world, why are we playing?
If you're just in it for points, a deck of cards and some poker chips are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
roll a d20. Okay, 16. You got 1,600 experience points this evening.
Yeah.
Now, can we role play? I don't know. Like, I don't have those problems at my tables, but it's definitely the reason why I'm not proactively looking to run games at my tables right now, unless the players ask for it. Like, oh, you got time next week? Then I will think about a game. But right
Yeah.
now, I'm like slowing down, thinking about what do I want to run, and if I run again next time, what do I want to address?
I would
in
say,
the
I would
next
say, like,
session?
I would say that try like propose them something like very mundane, very historical, right? Oh, we're gonna fucking play like in the 30-year war or something like that, right? And it's like, and see how they react. See how they react to that. If they can find their niche in there, that'll be good.
Yeah, my players, they want to keep playing the games I'm running, and one of them I haven't run for a year, but it's a kingdom builder game where all the characters are involved, and one of the characters is the local queen, basically. And I'm like, yes, I'm interested in playing that more, but I am burned out of building a whole world because it's so much work. So I just stepped back and ran something else until I find a solution for that.
That's also a big advantage of like going mundane and historical, because then you don't have to build as much, and you can let player make assumption about the world. You can say like, you know about this, you know about history. If you assume something exists in that world, then it does, right? That's fine. We can just roll with it. We can go with yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap up the stream because I need to go walk my dog and I need to go piss, and I'm out of beer. That's the problem.
You can't tolerate me without beer, I say.
I cannot tolerate myself without beer. What are you talking about? You think about other? You don't know much about drunk. If that you think that's how it works.
Yeah. The unbearable lightness of being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still have bourbon. I could like rely to that, but then that's another whole other kind of a problem. All right. I thank you guys for joining me again for well, as met your second time. Is it second time or third time?
That's the second time. I mean, I watched your last one, but I just I don't even know if you opened it up, but I didn't jump in because I was writing, and I don't know. I just listened, but yeah.
I don't always open it up. Sometimes if I have like enough people and stuff like that, but it depends. Like I want to talk to people. That's the reason why I do those things live. I like to have a different opinion, and I like to have people come and ask questions and stuff like that. So people in chat as well sometimes like don't feel ashamed to join. Justin says he's gonna be right back. I might end the stream when it's not there.
That's what I was telling everyone else when you went last time. We all just need to ditch the stream, and when you come back, there'll be nobody here. But,
yeah, that'd be like well, I would have just ended up there, like, but don't think
I
I'm
know.
by myself as well.
The joke wasn't worth ending the Discord.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for who joined me on the panel. So you guys here, and Crispy and Ginger Fraser and Phil the Trail earlier, and thank you for everybody that watched live. Thank you for everybody that watched on the replay. I hope you got something from that stream. I know those streams can go long, can be a bit chaotic, and we can veer off the subject and stuff like that. I try as much as possible to keep the content early up in the stream before we derail too much, and I think we kind of did that tonight. So hopefully you're gonna get something from it. Don't forget to, if you have questions you want me to address on one of those streams, leave them in the comment down below. I'll talk about them, or you can like ask me on Discord or whatever. Comment is probably better. It's better for the algorithm. And that's it. I'm ending the stream now. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night.